Out of the gates and ready to go. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow underway on this Friday edition. 6th and Peabody, our location, with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. And you, glad you're with us across the OutKick network. That includes our YouTube channel. You can search out OutKick, subscribe while you're there. Join Chad in the chat as we get you to the weekend over the next 3 hours. John McClain talks all things NFL headlines, leading off with the Washington Commanders, new ownership, and the unanimous vote that took place, paired with the fine and the Mary Jo White investigation details. And then on top of that, the idea that the Commanders could change their name again. John joins us in 20 minutes. Jonathan Isaac, NBA forward for the Orlando Magic. He'll be in studio with us coming up in a little over an hour, about an hour and 20 minutes from now. And, of course, he is the player that is known for standing. I know it's a crazy concept, standing for the anthem during the bubble, during 2020, and standing with his Magic jersey on while everyone had the Black Lives Matter T-shirt over the uniform, and they took a knee. We'll have him in studio for a new endeavor he's the CEO of for a brand initiative and what is behind all of that, plus guns, the gun show in hour number 3. Chad, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Hutton. That controversial decision to stand for the anthem. We'll get into that coming up a little bit later.
It ties in with some headlines today, too.
Look, we made it. It's Friday.
We are here.
Once again, we were doubted throughout the week. We were just like the Georgia Bulldogs of the last 3 years, just doubted. People thought we were only going to be 7-5. No one believed. And what they did was they conquered all and won back-to-back national titles. We are treating today's show like our national championship game. We've made it to the end. The journey has been long and arduous this SEC Media Days week, but here we are on Friday. We're not standing, but we are sitting upright in our seats, ready for this show. It will be championship-level effort put forth on Hot Mic today. This I promise.
Got some championship games that are held on ESPN and ABC, and maybe the NFL or NBA will be part owner of that. That's where we lead off with our Scorched Earth headlines today on this Friday. So, ESPN, this through CNBC today. ESPN has held early talks about strategic partnerships with the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball that could include the leagues taking an equity stake in the business. This, of course, is through the reports that Bob Iger is open to the idea of selling a part of ownership stake from ESPN to an outside investor. And, you know, he's long talked about a strategic partner for the four-letter network. And CNBC goes on, striking a deal directly with the leagues would be unprecedented, but would give ESPN a safety net that it would receive premium content from the leagues. That from CNBC. Chad, you've alluded to this type of idea. The NBA is all over ESPN. Yep. The NFL owns all of the networks based on rules and what you can and can't do or can and can't show and when you can show highlights, when you can't, how you cover the league, how you don't, credentials, all of it. Major League Baseball is interesting here based on the TV situation that they're in with half the league currently. And they're talking to the major sports about owning their cable network right now in a digital era.
Yeah, and it was a question. I have no inside knowledge, obviously. I just follow stories like this, and I thought, hey, it would be interesting to see if a pro sports league decided to have some level of financial interest involvement in ESPN if Disney's willing to spin it off and sell at least part of it to someone else. You're right, Hutton. The NFL probably doesn't need it based on their revenue right now and the influence they already have over all media networks. And I don't know if it's as much as any league needing it per se, as much as which league could look at this as a sound investment and a new way for new revenue streams. And the answer of who it should be is Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is at a breaking point right now of local media rights for their games. And I'm talking about team games. If ESPN Plus ever wanted to truly revamp, imagine a partial equity ownership in ESPN for Major League Baseball that included a way for both ESPN and Major League Baseball to make a crap ton of money on carrying games through ESPN Plus. in some way, with teams in local markets that way, and selling subscriptions that way, and Major League Baseball utilizing ESPN's resources and decades of experience broadcasting games to help create almost a new company that is owned by Major League Baseball and ESPN. That's a fascinating concept to me that could work, but it's going to be someone that's going to have ownership in ESPN. I mean, it's very clear Bob Iger is in talks. He's CEO of Disney to sell off to someone. So who will it be? Who makes the most sense?
Well, and just from the NFL standpoint, why would the NFL be interested? It was about a year ago where the discussion was had and it was made known. They're looking for a strategic media partner to join in and grab a stake of NFL Network, of Red Zone, and of NFL.com. So could that also be the branch or the bridge that allows them to join forces with ESPN and everything that's going digital with ESPN Plus? It's fascinating. And with Disney owning 80% of ESPN, it would come out of that 80% that they would be partnered with either the NFL, Major League Baseball, or NBA. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with any of these leagues, but the fact that they've started talks down this path shows you the initiative from the Disney perspective of who they want to be with, and it's the very top of what we're seeing in sports across the country.
But in looking at pro sports leagues, and again, the report says NFL, NBA have already had discussions with ESPN about this. I would look less at who needs this. For instance, in regards to the NFL doesn't need it. I would ask the question, two questions. Who wants it? Who could use it the best?
Yeah.
And to me, Major League Baseball would make a lot of sense.
And CNBC is saying...
NBA would make a lot of sense with who wants it.
And just to clarify, CNBC has added to their report. They're also throwing in Major League Baseball that have already started talks. So that's smart on their part.
I think Major League Baseball is the one that combines the answer to both those questions the best, of who could use it best and who needs it, who needs that outlet. I think Major League Baseball would be a great fit.
Chad, who needs Dalvin Cook? Who would Dalvin Cook help the most? The New England Patriots make a ton of sense. If they didn't want to jump to the level of incentives for what we saw DeAndre Hopkins receive in free agency from the Tennessee Titans, which wasn't much based on the expectation for the 31-year-old wide receiver who's put up several 1,000-yard seasons and certainly knows how to find the end zone. If you're not willing to go to that level for Hopkins, isn't there should be a push from the Patriots to make a move for Cook based on their need of running back and how their offense runs and knowing how Bill O'Brien runs an offense?
There should be a desire from the Patriots side. I'll say this, though, about Dalvin Cook. Miami makes sense because it's where he's from, and I think they're going to be pretty good. Is anyone not picking the Patriots to finish last in the AFC East? I think they're going to be hard-pressed to find people who don't have them in the cellar. When you look at Bills, Jets, Dolphins within that division. So you may be signing up for more money, and, hey, money talks. But if you're Dalvin Cook, if that's the answer, then you're saying, I'm taking the money, because you're signing up to play for a team likely to finish last. I understand that preseason predictions aren't gospel. It's not what's definitely going to happen. But I don't think you're going to find many NFL pundits that are going to have the Patriots anywhere but dead last in the AFC East. And for that reason, I think Dalvin Cook is signing up to be on a pretty mediocre to not great to bad team.
But the reports are he wants upwards of $10 million for a one-year or multi-year deal. He's not going to find that, but what he's also wanting is more than whatever the Vikings offered him in that pay cut. And especially now, if he were to take a low ball offer and end up on a team that, and more power to him, that has a chance to win a title, what does that mean for the upper crust of the running back position and the whole argument being made right now across the league that they shouldn't be forced into a corner and thrown down the pecking order of payment, of overall status for how they're used versus what they make? And the top guys in the league are handcuffed on the franchise tag for 2 years. If he were to take a lowball offer, he's criticized behind closed doors by his own Players Association.
Yeah,
he's in a tough spot.
He rubber stamps the whole concept of the devaluation of the running back position. He helps to rubber stamp that if he does it, and he will take heat for it.
Chad, I thought the whole beef with Draymond Green and Jordan Poole had concluded. And the perception was it concluded whenever Draymond admitted that the punch that everyone was talking about going into the fall of last season, that Draymond admitted it really impacted how the Warriors gelled or lack thereof during the regular season. And then he's discussing it with Patrick Beverley, and it turns into a quarrel on social media with Jordan Poole's father. Here's Draymond Green on the Patrick Beverley podcast.
I don't just hit people. Dialogue, of course, happens over time, and you usually ain't just triggered by something like that fast, to that degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a team. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody on my team triggering me, in an instant. We know stuff that you don't say amongst men. You know what I'm saying? We know, things that you have to stand on. I don't just hit people. Dialogue.
Which makes sense, right? Like that punch in practice, that had been building. That doesn't just happen randomly. And that's the point he wanted to get across. It makes sense. But here's Anthony Poole responding to that video on Twitter. I stand on this. That is some BS. JP was his guy, and he avoided me all last year. He is a soft blank, and I'm standing on this. He didn't apologize to me and my wife. He's lame. Me and him can meet anytime he wants. That is Anthony Poole, Jordan Poole's father. Draymond then responds, "That's so cute, it's impossible to avoid you in an arena for a year, champ."
Great opener, too, with "That's so cute."
I got to get to my family from the family room every game. Stop using those words. They usually don't go over well amongst men. So now does Draymond want to fight Anthony Poole?
I think he's saying he will fight him if that's what Anthony really wants. He knows where to find him, that he'll gladly do that.
I immediately think of, can you imagine, like, if you had, 10 years from now, you have a son in the NBA or something, and you have an NBA player saying, "Hey, watch what you're saying on social because that doesn't go well with men. Like, if I see you
amongst men,
we're going to have words, maybe throw some hands."
Hutton, if I had a son in the NBA and I provoked an NBA superstar
who had been punched
into a Twitter war, I would delete my account on Twitter immediately if I was Jordan Poole's dad. If I caused a stir like that, that's how I would handle it. I do think this is over with them, but it's just going to keep coming back up if he's asked about it and answers about it. I mean, he went on a podcast with a guy known for being an absolute pest in the NBA. So the understanding is he's probably going to ask about the time you punched a teammate and got suspended and fined for it.
But he didn't take a shot at Jordan Poole. He's just saying, like, he didn't say what happened leading up to that.
No, I didn't think it was that bad, but of course there's going to be bad blood. I mean, you got laid out on camera for the world to see.
And the Warriors got rid of Poole, not Draymond.
Something was so bad about what was being said or what was happening that Draymond Green is saying, "I just don't punch someone just to punch them." And I'll say he is an irritant and a pest. We haven't seen Draymond Green walk up to a lot of NBA players in a game and rivals and just punch them.
We've seen him kick people.
I do buy that. Yeah, I mean he's cover your privates around him with a foot coming that way. I mean, that might happen. But he doesn't just punch people just to punch them. So, yeah, of course there was some buildup and something that happened before. I'd like to know what exactly led to that, or if it was just – there's a lot, like even in the article discussing this, there were other people who were saying that Poole was maybe getting a little too big for his britches because the contract talks, and he was annoying and irritating. And I think of this story in the book Live from New York. And it's the oral history of Saturday Night Live. And in season 2, after Chevy Chase left the show after 1 year, he annoyed everyone on the show. And he was very arrogant when he came back to host about being the star who made it out. And Bill Murray was new to the cast in season 2. And there is this infamous story of during the week leading up to Saturday Night Live with Chevy Chase hosting, Bill Murray punched Chevy Chase during an argument. and how that endeared him to all the castmates at that point because he was the new guy getting picked on, and he punched Chevy Chase, and Chevy Chase annoyed all of them. I wonder if there's a little Chevy Chase Bill Murray with Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. I wouldn't have immediately thought that based on the reaction from Steve Kerr and the team.
Yeah.
But maybe there was a little bit of that type of animosity between those two.
Well, and they tried to keep it under wraps. Remember, they were more concerned about how the video got out at the time than anything else.
I would be too.
And the Bill Murray fight with Chevy Chase, why didn't that happen at Northwestern?
Yeah. Northwestern, Bill Murray from Chicago, by the way.
Why didn't that
Close
happen
by,
there?
they needed to recruit a Bill Murray type that would have punched someone for putting genitals on them. Then you wouldn't have had this problem.
The victory lap that
I loved Andy Staples' thing about, maybe that's why they sucked all these years. Maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah, but it doesn't explain 2018.
Yeah, they did win the
Coach of the Year.
They did win the Big Ten West.
Coach of the Year.
2020. He got the extension based off winning the Big Ten West.
Yeah.
Very recently. Now, that was the COVID year. A lot of wild things happened in the COVID year.
They won, though.
But they won.
Coming up, John McClain. We dive into the Commanders, the sale that is official, the victory lap being that's still ongoing, I'm sure, amongst NFL owners, concessions that were made to approve Josh Harris, and are we about to see yet another name change for the Washington franchise? Commanders no longer? That's where we lead off, plus we talk Saquon Barkley and more. Next on Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow.
Pat Fitzgerald has been fired. Pat Fitzgerald, the beleaguered, the weirdo, I guess, or his weird players, has been fired by Northwestern University. And the Northwestern children, the players, are not happy about it. They are not taking it well. Well, I ask you, Northwestern players. In fact, I just put out a video to Northwestern players that are mad. And they're mad because, well, the old coach. The old coach got blank canned because, well, the players decided it was a good idea to get naked, do naked crawls, naked claps, naked soap up themselves in front of the shower and make players run through because the players of Northwestern really are perverted. I mean, I'll never understand it. Now, I got guys saying, well, Bobby Knight, you guys hazed just in a different way, yelling and screaming. Yeah, you're right. We did. Tough. You don't like it? So what? But we never did the nudity thing. We never did the sexual assault thing. We never did the stuff, hey, we're going to slap you and dry hump you. At some point, the players, don't you agree, the players of Northwestern got to look themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? This is kind of on us. You know what? We caused a lot of this. You know what? We shouldn't have done that. Now, every time I see a Northwestern player from now on, I'm like, yeah, you're a weirdo. Used to be every time I saw a Northwestern player, I'd be like, man, you're a tough dude. You played for a tough coach, played for a high-end academic institution. I'd hire you in a second. Now I'm like, yeah, you got a bunch of weirdos running around there. Now I'm like, what in the hell are you doing there in the locker room at Northwestern? And I told you yesterday that this firing was coming because of this one reason. When you have to have outside people monitor your locker room because your players are perverts, because your coach allows it, because it's a culture of somehow, some way naked hazing. And no one's denying the hazing, by the way. So it's not like I'm speaking out of school. Sure, Fitzgerald, Fitz, whatever, is a great dude. Sure, he is the face of Northwestern. I would argue he's the most important figure in the history of Northwestern athletics. Nobody's not saying good dude. But he did what a lot of dumb meathead coaches do. He got on his little mount. He's got his little pillar. He's got his little kingdom. And on top of the kingdom is him. And he got to thinking he was untouchable because no coach with any common sense would allow that in this day and age. I don't know what they were doing back when Bear Bryant was having guys out at camp. I don't know what they were doing when Kay first started. I don't know what they were doing at Indiana when Knight first started. I only know what I've been involved in, and it's never involved dry humping other men or nudity. Just saying. In the locker room. Naked. On my team. Never. Anywhere, actually, but never. Used to give you a ball tap once in a while out in public just to say hello. But I got to tell you, it's just the weirdest thing. And none of these players are taking any accountability. You know what they're doing? They're doing the Biden strategy. This went from the Bob Knight strategy of round up all the players, ex-players, whoever, and talk great things about this strong man. Look at his chin. Yeah, that's what they do.
Sixth and Peabody, our location, with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow rolls on across the OutKick network. Coming up, Jonathan Isaac will join us, Orlando Magic forward, in studio in an hour from now. Plus, Mike Gunzelman, the Gun Show from OutKick.com, always brings the energy. That will be in hour number 3 to get you to your weekend. Right now, we say hello to John McClain, the general, the man who is a Pro Football Hall of Famer and a Pro Football Hall of Fame selector. John, good to see you. Hope things are well.
Everything's great with me, guys. Great times. We get ready to approach training camp. I think it's my 47th. Every year I feel like a kid on the first day of school. And after the first day, like I used to go to school, look around, see who's in the class, then I couldn't wait for summer vacation. And I'm all fired up for camp. And once I spend about 3 hours in the Houston sun, and I'll be ready for vacation.
Well,
John,
that was fun, guys. We'll see you guys again next July.
See you week 1.
See you later.
I want to go back to my house in Maryland. When I got up the last day we were there, I walked out on the front porch, stoned the water. I listened to the birds, and it was 71 degrees. And the high that day was 81 degrees. And we came home to 99 in Houston. But, you know, I've been in Texas my whole life. I don't mind hot weather. I like to sweat, but I got to tell you, sure is nice and peaceful there on the water.
John, you have been in very fast votes. I believe it was Brett Favre, where you just, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame meeting, you mention his name, and then everyone says yes. It's that quick. How fast do you think it was faster for the Hall of Fame selection for a first ballot guy, or hey? Yesterday in the owners' meeting, Josh Harris for ownership of the Washington Commanders?
Well, we like to think that. I think they had some things to say. They had to bring everybody up to date on Mary Jo Hart's independent investigation. It ended up costing him $66 million in fines. Also, he'd already been fined $10 million. But when you're a multi-billionaire to begin with, and you just get a check for $6.05 billion, that's tip money, $66 million. So it's good riddance. You know, Josh Harris he got one way to go, and that's down, because he's on top of the world. They trotted Magic Johnson out there. Harris grew up a Washington Redskins fan. He understands what it takes to try to get them back to where they were. But I read today on Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio, because he's a lawyer, just like Clay Travis is a lawyer, and I like to see them break things down from a legal standpoint, because I'm a dumbass when it comes to legal stuff. And they went over page by page of all the lies and cheating that Washington did. It is amazing to see all the rules they broke. They flaunted it, and that didn't even talk about all the sexual misconduct and harassment.
Yeah, it's really quite the hit list with Dan Snyder when you look through his history with that organization.
I got to tell you a story real quick.
Okay.
When the Browns got their team back, and I think it was 99, maybe somewhere in there, they had their new stadium. I went to the old stadium like a million times. And so we were in Canton for the Hall of Fame game, and they had a party. And the Hall of Fame had it at the stadium. And So everybody wanted to see it. Everybody's walking around gawking at it. I walked outside the club level onto a balcony. I was standing there by myself, and somebody behind me started asking me about the stadium. And I turned around, it's Dan Snyder and his dad, his wife, and I guess his daughter and his mother. And they thought I worked there. I'd been stationed out there to talk to anybody that had any questions. And I knew a little bit about it. So I answered their questions. And I guess Snyder, he just bought the team. And it was so funny because I think his sister goes, Dan, I don't think he works for the Browns. And I said, I don't. I'm covered the NFL for the Houston Chronicle. You should have seen how fast they hightailed it back indoors like I was stepped on a skunk.
So were you pretending to actually work for the team as you were answering questions?
I was answering the questions. I didn't say I did. I didn't say I didn't. There you go. Because I was waiting to see when they figured it out. But I was able to answer most of their questions.
The great John McClain is so good. He's covered the NFL. It's going to be his 47th training camp. And he can serve as a guest relations director for the Cleveland Browns stadium opening back in 1999. That's his level of talent. Ravens today signed running back Melvin Gordon. There was no doubting this team and their rushing attack before this signing. What does this do to add to that, John?
I don't think it does squat. They got 3 guys back from last year, but they had a lot of injuries last year. Maybe they're going to carry 4 veterans. I don't know. They like to run the ball. Lamar Jackson's their best runner. But Todd Monken's coming in there to open up that offense and bring it into the space age. But it sounds like John Harbaugh still wants to run the ball a lot. Melvin Gordon gets a contract up to $1.3 million, which means his base is probably $1 million with a chance to make another $300,000 in incentives.
He couldn't hang on to the football in Denver. That's his big issue. He was fumbling all over the place.
He was, and if he could fumbles in preseason or camp, then he's not going to make this team either.
Yep, that's right. John, are the Commanders about to change their name again? Is that the idea?
Yeah, they can't do it this year. You got to get approval from the NFL. Those things are usually a 2-year process. Magic Johnson, when he talked to the media, pointed out that could be possible. But Commanders, when I think of Commanders, I don't automatically think of Dan Snyder. He was anything but a commander. If it had been thieves, the Washington Thieves, then I'd say change it, because that's the first thing I think about Dan Snyder. But if they want to do it and have a new identity, you know what they're going to do. They're going to have those fan surveys, and they're going to see what the fans want to do, and they'll put their finger in the air and see what the media wants to do and go with what's popular. Now, we know they can't go back to Redskins. I don't know what finished second to Commanders, but if they do change it, then people will sell a whole lot more memorabilia.
Saquon Barkley continues to say he's really considering not playing. Meanwhile, Dalvin Cook is still looking for a landing spot. If we're just comparing the two situations, how much pressure will Cook feel to not take some low ball offer, considering all of the clamoring that's going on right now about running backs and their value in the market?
Well, Cook's got a little issue about domestic violence right now that came out, and it looks like it's really, really ugly. And that's something that the league could suspend him for. If I'm any team interested in him, I want to know what the league's thinking about doing, if anything. But if you Google Dalvin Cook and domestic abuse, you'll see it. And that's what a free agent player wants on his resume. Now, Saquon Barkley can talk until the cows come home, and he doesn't lose a penny. He doesn't lose a penny unless he's not there for the first regular season game when the big checks come. I don't see any way. He's a smart guy. Anybody, you don't even have to be smart. You could be Dan Snyder, and you could see what happens to running backs when they sit out a season. Just look at Le'Veon Bell, who admits he made a mistake.
Yes.
Everybody knew he was making a mistake, but him and his agent. Maybe his agent told him, don't do this, and he did it anyway. Saquon Barkley will be there.
And he can't get fined for not being there during camp. So he's going to use that as leverage, but there's really no leverage. The Giants,
There's no leverage. Yeah, you can't sign a contract till after the season. So what's the leverage?
John, we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago with you. Everything going on at Northwestern, Pat Fitzgerald, hazing, different things behind the scenes. As you've been there and seen that, I'm sure, or at least know of stories from across the league of past eras. Can you give us a couple examples of the craziest things you've heard?
Probably not the craziest because they're all pretty. I can tell you I'll tell you one involving getting naked, getting on the goal line on all fours, and crawling to the other goal line while you. Never mind. I can't tell you.
Come on, John. That's such a great teaser right there.
What are they holding?
All right.
What are they holding? Yeah.
A sausage where the sun don't shine. And if you make it to the other goal line, you're good to go. If you don't, you got to chow down. Now, that's pretty bad. I've heard things like the old Denver Broncos used to take players up in the mountains, strip them down, tell them they come back to training camp. That was in the 60s. They would go to a house and beg them to call the police so they could get a blanket and get driven back to training camp. Oh, Jeff Fisher cut out hazing with the Oilers. And I don't know what you call this. I never saw anything bad with the Oilers, but I'll tell you, two of their best were two of their Hall of Fame players, Mike Munchak and Bruce Matthews. They thought they were barbers during training camp, not any time the rest of the year. So if you're a rookie and you came in there, you had to sit in a chair, and they just like a painter rub their chin trying to figure out what they want to do with your hair. And back then, nobody shaved their heads, so they might shave it. I remember guys would come out with arrowheads, all kind of mohawks, back when mohawks weren't a thing. And the media would be outside waiting to see these rookies. And one time there was a player from California, can't remember his name, had great hair. I would kill for hair like his. And he quit the team so they didn't mess with his hair. Now, if he'd have been a draft choice, been any good, they would have put their foot down and said, Bruce, you're not butchering this guy's hair. But he was an undrafted free agent. He went back to California. I don't know what happened to him. I'd like to say his name was Brad Pitt, but it wasn't. So I don't know if the guy made it big in anything. That's how much he didn't want them messing with his hair.
John, is this more about the social media age that we're in, and the stories you're mentioning that you've seen over the decades? That couldn't go on now.
Oh, my God, no. They get arrested. They get fired, arrested, put in jail, never work again. I've read all these investigations out of Northwestern. I know people think it's terrible, but these guys, nobody ever came forward till this one whistleblower. Now a bunch of people are going to sue them. But why didn't they sue him then? Or why haven't they sued him before this whistleblower came out? Everybody, it's outrageous that you had to do naked pull-ups. If I didn't do that, it wouldn't last long. I could have done one. And then thing about lathering themselves up, coming out of the shower, the lineman, and having a gauntlet, and you'd have to get real skinny to get through that gauntlet without those naked linemen. And the players never thought, they said, didn't think it was anything ugly. It's just something you did. It was tradition. But now you can't do anything that. I think Jeff Fisher was ahead of his time because he told them, you can make a rookie carry your shoulder pads, carry your helmet, but nothing else. I don't like that hazing. And at the time, I thought it was kind of, I didn't like it because it was such a fun thing about training camp. But Jeff was the first I know that said absolutely not.
John, I realize it's 2023 and not 1968 right now, but given those stories that you know and what's happened, do you think Pat Fitzgerald should have been fired for this?
I think under the current climate that you can't do anything that's going to upset people, and I hope Fitzgerald gets another job. I never heard anything bad about that program. And I'll bet you somebody else hires him. He may sit out a year. He may go in TV. I mean, my God, Urban Meyer got another job. So I think, yes, he should have been fired because the media is doing all these investigations, calling people, trying to get the worst stories they can get. And they don't have anything that where anybody got beaten or beaten up or assaulted, although they did.
Not even a name.
But, but I don't feel sorry for him. His attorney said he didn't know anything about it. He said he didn't know anything about it. But if you're the boss and you oversee the program, you better know what's going on and you better stop it. You better not look the other way and play dumb.
John, I look forward to our visit on Tuesday of next week. That the majority of teams will be in training camp by the 25th, and we will dive into all of the headlines there for sure.
By the way, you guys are going to love DeAndre Hopkins. He's a great guy. I hope he stays healthy, plays the way he did here. Houston fans don't want to hear that, especially when I say it on the radio, but he was always one of my favorite players. And anything that's going to make this rivalry be what it should have been from the get-go, but never has been, I think will be terrific. So congratulations to the Titans for getting D-Hop.
They don't want to see that. Texans fans, I'm saying, they also don't want to see that happen while D-Hop wears the Oilers throwbacks.
No, I wrote that the other day. He's going to look great in that Columbia blue up in Nashville.
John, you're always great. Have a great weekend.
You're the man, John McClain.
We'll chat next week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
The great John McClain, great friend, great.
The man has stories.
Great guest as well, and plenty of stories.
So many stories.
Needs to write his book.
Yes.
Needs to get that going. Coming up,
bestseller.
Is it unpatriotic to root against our country in competition? Chad and I have big thoughts.
Strong thoughts.
Next on Hot Mic.
Strong.
What you're experiencing is the bold taste of a Southern legend. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey, authentic Tennessee mountain-style spirits. We believe in crafting flavors that were born from tradition but defy expectation, and pioneering a new experience with every sip. Because if it doesn't do this, it ain't this. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Come on.
Welcome into OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader. I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life. ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
When Leah Thomas walked in that first day, it got silent, and every girl was uncomfortable.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the #1 overall pick.
I just think the way Anthony Bass handled this was so sloppy.
Oh, I think it's perfect.
And what he reposted,
he did
and then how he did it.
He bent the knee and bowed. He was going to catch the ceremonial first pitch.
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous the scenario, are gonna live. Another week of inflation, another week with Biden with COVID, and another set of losers to crown. People don't watch the WNBA on TV, in person, on a plane, on a train, on a bus, or on purpose.
The scary thing, Tommy, is in the history of this government, I've never seen them give anything back that they've taken.
Oh no, they never do.
And they won't.
When you're behind closed doors, when you're talking to plant managers, when you're having meetings, when you're with the team, was there an acknowledgement of any of this, an acknowledgement of the situation, the boycott, and then the doubling down about moving away from the fratty image?
We've seen coaches throw water bottles. We've seen coaches act like idiots. We've seen coaches slap other coaches. But I think if you're involved in carjacking, you're inherently a rotten human being. The level of stupid that sometimes gets on our YouTube chat just gives me a headache. You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it, people. I'm pissed off about this. I never did it before in my life, but Trump is being cheated. The American people are being cheated. We, ladies and gentlemen, are being cheated.
I believe this person is the greatest player anybody alive will ever see. How can you hate Derek Jeter? A guy's on-base percentage tells me his batting eye, and a guy's slugging percentage tells me if he's a threat. That's the kind of guy that throws a no-hitter, that effectively wild guy.
Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. A bold taste of a Southern legend.
Now it's a pipe dream, even though there's at least some former players, including at the quarterback position, trying to make the case that it's possible that the running backs could actually make more money than what they're currently doing under the structure of the franchise tag. Hot Mike Hutton and Withrow rolls on across the OutKick network. In about 40 minutes from now, Jonathan Isaac, NBA forward with the Orlando Magic, will join us in studio. Plus the Gun Show, Mike Gunzelman. He will discuss all things pop culture with us in hour number 3.
Guns will just talk about anything.
Anything, but also
anything.
His New York Yankees, Aaron Judge, and the push for Ohtani to potentially take over that record in the AL. All of that and more. And the Creed cruise. We're going to get his take there on Creed is back, apparently, Chad. Davey Hudson is thrilled about this.
Yeah, Davey's going to go on the cruise, apparently, for research.
Well, he's trying to.
Show research.
He's trying to. He's cutting down on the number of dates he has to save money so that he can pay for the cruise up front.
I watched a documentary about the formation of TGI Fridays last night, and immediately thought about Davey Hudson and thought this is about the cap level of where he takes a date, is TGI Fridays.
Yeah, it's the over-under.
They did invent the loaded potato skin. That is a fact. They're the ones who invented it.
Really?
TGI Fridays was the hottest nightclub / bar in New York City in 1965. That's how it got its start.
And now it's considered a Davey Hudson date night?
Bars until the 1960s were always thought of like seedy places for just men to go and drink. And it was not friendly to women. And there was just a very lonely guy, Davey Hudson type.
Yeah, the guys didn't want the women there.
He was a perfume salesman, and he wanted a place to go to meet single girls. So he just started his own bar on the Upper East Side because there were all
to
of
sell
these.
Perfume.
That was like the hot spot. They said hundreds of thousands of women, stewardesses, single professionals lived in the Upper East Side of New York, and they needed a bar that was inviting for singles. And he hatched TGI Fridays as that bar. And I mean, it was like velvet rope to get in back in the day. And then eventually it became, someone else came in and partnered with him quickly, and it became the chain restaurant TGI Fridays.
Are they even still in business?
Oh, yeah. They're Fridays.
They're not big in East Tennessee at all.
Yeah, they're around. I mean, I don't know that they're, it's not the height of TGI Fridays right now, but it's hopping.
Well, you're thinking of the shows back in the day on TGIF that are no longer in business.
No, that's not what I'm thinking of.
Are we correct? Are we around the over-under for date night if you're trying to save money for a Creed cruise? Which is, by the way, completely true. You are trying to go on this cruise.
Yeah, so we've been looking at it. And, I mean, it's 4 days, April 18th through the 22nd.
I don't want to even ask you about the we, but okay.
Leaving from Miami and going to the Bahamas. I checked. I don't need a passport, which is good because getting one of those post-COVID has been incredibly difficult.
Oh, yeah.
But outside of that, yeah, just trying to get a bunch of the crew together. My biggest hesitation.
A bunch of the crew together. So this can be a huge group.
But is it a joke or is it you're all in on Creed? I can't tell with how you're talking about it.
I did a radio hit earlier, and I said.
I know, but is it true or not?
they have 4 songs that if you turn it on, I'm singing at the top of my lungs. And it's like, if you start to badmouth those songs, I will confront you about saying
you'll quit your job and go
things
on a
about those
cruise
4
with them.
things.
Yeah.
How many single women do you think will be on the Creed cruise?
That's probably going to be a very low number.
I think
However many
every
they bring with
woman
them.
there is going to be attached, married to some guy who really loves Creed.
That's the biggest problem. It's just the crowd that this cruise is probably going to attract.
See, I think that's the draw. If you're just, wanting, it's just people watching, right?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I can't
With
wait
some
for,
great music, you
I
know?
can't wait for the reports back.
Yeah.
When Davey attends this
Well,
cruise.
we'll get Guns' take on this. We'll have Davey chime in as well. When is this? When are you going?
It would be the April 18th through the 22nd of next year.
Okay. Well,
circle your calendar, ladies and gentlemen. If you plan on going on that
prepare the
cruise.
wardrobe now, David.
right.
Creed cruise.
All the affliction.
Can we get a
shirts you
sponsor
can-
to get me
you can
down
buy.
there? Let's work on that.
Be tough.
Airfare.
Also coming up with Guns, Chad. Think about.
Hutton and I know people, Davey.
I
We
already
can
answered
introduce
for you. We won't give it away yet, but the Creed cruise for Davey is equal to what for us? Like you would go, and I already gave your answer. I think you know what I would have answered.
BSB
Yes,
tour.
yes.
Like,
So
if Backstreet Boys, they probably have had a cruise too.
well, then
By
you
the way,
probably missed out on it.
the ratio of female to male on the BSB tour are going to be far more in your favor than the Creed tour. Can confirm. Can confirm that'd be the case for you, Davey.
I would go on a Backstreet Boys cruise. My Twitter bio says
Chad no longer wants to go.
Yeah, that's fine. Go to my Twitter bio. It literally
now
says
the
the
we.
6th
We know the
member of
we.
the Backstreet Boys.
You
Like,
could
I'm a
hang
fan
out.
of
You could
BSB.
hang out with the girls when the Backstreet Boys are tired of talking to them. Just the girls that are left over after the BSB's done with them. You can talk to them. That'd be great.
All right, sounds good.
Sounds like a great time.
Davey rejoins us later in the show with the Creed cruise details of everything they're potentially offering that he's even considering going and being a part of. Chad, if we went and were a part of anything live in person with anything to do with the U.S. women's national team, they're going for the 3P. The concept, the idea that some are struggling with the fact that, number one, they don't know whether or not they should root for them to have success at the World Cup. And number two, it's even been ballied about that there are those that are like, I wouldn't even stand for our anthem if
Who
I'm
has
there
said
in
that?
person.
The story
out.
that we're referencing that's at OutKick.
No, it's not that. It's
I
not
saw
that
the
one.
headline and I could not even read it.
Again, it's
apologies to whoever wrote it because that question is so ludicrous.
The idea that you
Is
are
it
rooting
unpatriotic
against the
to
United
root
States.
against your own country? Of course it is.
Yes.
Of course it is. Why? Because you disagree with the politics of a few of the players and not even all of them? Look, I've talked about this with multiple people. I disagree with 98% of what Megan Rapinoe says. If you want to go into this tournament rooting against Megan Rapinoe to be some hero and play great in it, but wanting the Americans to win, fine. I'm totally cool with that. But the fact that you are going to allow a political opinion of an American citizen, by the way, who has won multiple World Cups for this country, to cause you to not root for America. And now Hutton is telling me there's actual idiots that are saying, maybe I won't stand for the national anthem. This pissing match
if they were there.
back and forth of, you are so un-American, I disagree with you so much, I'm going to hit you back so hard that I'm going to be a worse American than you. I'm going to be less American than you are, and I will show you what is up. Give me this camera right here, right now. Let me tell everyone that does that. You are an idiot, okay? We are Americans. We root for America to do well. If you want to prove Megan Rapinoe wrong and all of her idiotic takes wrong, root for this team and show her that, you know what? We got each other's back in this country. You might think you live in a third world country and it's bad here, but I know the rest of the world is worse because we're Americans. And we are so good at being American that we will root for you and your teammates. And you can deal with that. You can deal with Republicans rooting for you. You can deal with MAGA heads out there rooting for you. Everyone is rooting for you. Deal with it, Megan. And if you don't want them watching or rooting for you, great. That's how I'll show you how much of an American I am. I am here raising my hand right now saying I, Chad Withrow, have done less for America than Megan Rapinoe because she's won World Cups for this country. I haven't done that, but I cheer like hell for America because I am a patriot and I love this country, and you should be too. How are we even discussing this?
I can't imagine tuning into a World Cup match against Vietnam and rooting for Vietnam.
Vietnam is the opponent. Vietnam.
Again, it's
Does
mind-boggling.
anyone know history?
Mind-boggling.
There are ancestors of the women they're playing that have killed Americans in war. And people are actually debating on whether or not to root for Vietnam?
Yes.
Read a freaking history book.
It's so
Go
dumb.
online, read Wikipedia, something.
Now, here's where I understand what people are saying. They're saying
please
if,
clip that,
if
baby.
they were there, if they were actually going to tune in, there is no buzz about the World Cup.
It's in New Zealand.
But still.
I think anything that happens so many time zones away automatically gets.
But you're just now starting to see the headlines of how they're going for an historic three-peat, right? This isn't some build-up.
I'm with you. I had no idea it was happening tonight.
Yeah.
They play tonight at 8 Eastern.
But the build-up normally is through the network, right?
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of silence. And
now, if they're playing
especially during a slow time.
If they're playing for the World Cup, I think it'll have some ratings.
Sure.
If it's on at the right time. I mean, I'm saying the championship match. But, I mean, I don't know what we're going to see until then. This is just, I'm not going to play into this. I'm going to be more American than you by rooting against America because you don't like America, and now I don't like you. I don't like Megan Rapinoe. Megan Rapinoe, as an American citizen, has every right to protest, do and say whatever she wants. I am for freedom of speech and First Amendment for everyone. There's a great op-ed that was sent to us about embracing unpopular opinions, right? I'm for that on all sides, and I think it's important to protect that. So I protect her right to say what she wants. I also protect my right to think she's an idiot about half the things she says, and I disagree with most of what she says. But I'm not going to show that disagreement by rooting for Vietnam to beat America in a soccer match. If America as a country and the best of the best in that sport are playing in something, I am rooting for America. Without any deliberation, without any thought, I am rooting for the Americans. Period.
And then, on the far end of this is aside from not rooting, we can't stand with them and stand for, what they stand for by standing for the anthem. I'm thinking, why is this so difficult where we just went through everything with the NFL with why you stand for the anthem and how it's not about making it a political dynamic.
It's the one time you put politics aside.
Yeah, and now the same. I feel like there is a pocket of the same people that were on that side of it that are now saying this because it's the United States women's national team.
I try to stay offline on some of this
stuff.
So
stupid.
But I have not heard of anyone. You're going to have to explain this to me more.
It's been retweets and social of this.
There's not a single person that paid to go to this match in New Zealand to watch the U.S. women's national team.
I thought you were going to say period.
That would ever consider sitting for the national anthem in the stadium.
Again, it's all hypothetical.
I don't even know what they mean.
It's all hypothetical. But to have that as the discussion instead of just, winning on behalf of the country is dumb.
I just think if you really want to win hearts and minds, this is not the answer. Like if you disagree with someone, it's not the answer to say, I'm so much better as an American than you that I'm now going to sit for the national anthem and I'm not going to support you. If you want to win hearts and minds, you look everyone in the eye and say, I disagree with you. Here's why you're wrong. Here's why you should really support women's athletics and say what everyone knows, that men should not compete in women's sports and take away Title IX opportunities instead of being on the wrong side of, everybody wants to talk about the wrong side of history. Megan Rapinoe's on the wrong side of history on that issue. I'd like to talk to her about that. I'd like to interview her about that and talk to her about that. But one thing I'm never going to do is tell her, hey, I hate your opinion so much that when you suit up for my country and wear an American flag, I'm rooting like hell for Vietnam to beat you.
Right.
Think about how dumb that statement is I just said. I mean, seriously,
no matter how much you disagree with her, it doesn't change
the
fact that she's an American just like you or I, right? And
so
she has that platform to speak.
Stupid.
But so do we. So does everyone. It's more about who's wrong and what makes them worse than what makes something else better or trying to be better. And the bickering back and forth. There will be more coverage about what comes out of that locker room and those women than the actual reason why they're there on behalf of the country.
Do I wish
that will be the headline instead of the 3P?
Yeah, and do I wish that they wouldn't say awful things about America the whole time they're abroad in a tournament like this and asked about it?
Or their sport, yeah.
Yeah,
for equal pay
I wish they would do that. But guess what? That's what's great about our country. They don't have to worry about coming home and getting thrown into an internment camp because they said something bad about our country. They're allowed to do that because they're Americans, and I support that free speech.
Headlines when we return, including one former NFL quarterback trying to make the case for why running backs actually stand a chance in their quarrel over pay.
This issue of male advantage plaguing women's sports, it only recently came to light, I feel like, for so many, including myself. I was really only became aware of this when I was slapped across the face with it in regards to Leah Thomas. But as you alluded to, this is something that you had experience of. You were well ahead of your time. I mean, 43 years ago, you saw this. And so would you be able to touch on what that experience looked like competing against the East Germans?
And we would have East German athletes turning up to things like, even like the Olympics, and we'd never, ever seen them before. And they would literally arrive and smash world records. They looked and sounded like, you know, very masculine. They had deep voices, very large Adam apple, bad skin, through no fault of their own. You know, I've never had a problem with these individuals. They were pawns of a horrible system. The people I have a big problem with is the IOC. And they allowed this to happen for 20 years. You know, they even had East German doctors sitting on international doping panels. So every time we came up with a way to try and catch them, they would find a way to you know, avoid being caught. And this was allowed to go on for 2 decades. So imagine the number of females that missed out. However, those females only missed out at international competitions, and they predominantly missed out in swimming, track and field, and rowing. What we've got now is 10 times worse, because this is happening across every single sport, at every single level, in every single country. You know, so I've been pushing very hard to say, right, we need to have a female classification, however that looks. Me, ideally, I'd love to bring back sex tests. And then an open and inclusive category so that everyone is still welcome in sport. Because just like you, I'm sure, you want people to do sport. You know, you want people to be physically active, to be healthy, because it helps us, both our body and our minds, you know, and in a world at the moment with mental health, particularly in young girls, through the roof, we need people to be physically active. So it's the last thing in the world I would ever want to do is to ban anyone from sports. I just want to protect the opportunities for people that are biologically female to have equal chance of being able to win medals, put successes onto their onto their CV going forward, get university scholarships, get places on teams, you know, be proud of records that they set, whatever it is. Females are worthy of equal opportunity. We are not second-class citizens, and I'm not prepared to sit back and pretend that we are. So,
amen. Oh my gosh, it's so true. There is no compromise for women. There is nothing that we should have to give up to ensure that trans athletes can compete. But that being said, trans athletes shouldn't be banned from sports. Of course not. And that's something that we see in the States a lot, especially in regards to state legislature being pushed. The opposition, they always say this is an anti-trans bill that bans trans athletes from competing. And that's simply not true. I love how you mentioned it equips people with the right information, with effective messaging, how to communicate about it, what to do. Really powerful. You mentioned in your book, you had a quote, I think it's from Cynthia Millen, and it says, bodies compete against bodies, gender identities don't swim, which is, that's the basis of the argument.
How do we marshal feelings? It's ridiculous. You know,
Absolutely.
if we turn around and say that we're going to accept a feeling that says someone can feel like a male or a female depending on their feeling, not the reality of their body, where does that stop? You know, what's the next feeling that's going to trump a reality? And we're not doing our kids any favors by not dealing with the truth. You know, it's by telling young children that they're going to be able to change sex when they're not. They're going to have to take medication for the rest of their life. They're going to have to do things to their bodies which will probably shorten their lives.
Coming up in 20 minutes, Jonathan Isaac joins us in studio as we welcome you, just like that, to the second hour.
Just like that.
Hot Mic with Hutton with Roll.
Today, Hutton.
Rolls on. 2 hours till the weekend, Chad. 2 hours until 6 o'clock Eastern. Our goal to get you there as fast as possible, each and every weekday, 3 to 6 Eastern. Live from our 6th and Peabody studios with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. The chat is fired up as well, I'm sure. You can find that on YouTube. Just search out OutKick, subscribe while you're there. Chat is in there chatting away currently right now. We've got Jonathan Isaac Plus later in today's show, Gun Show. Mike Gunzelman will be in studio with us. That's about an hour and 20 minutes from right now. In a moment, we'll get to Saquon Barkley and RG3. RG3 trying to make the case. I think he does it about 50%, and where I can buy in. The other 50 is overlooked, and I'll explain why. But, Chad, there's another headline that's making waves everywhere from ESPN to OutKick had this last night, that a assistant trainer for the Jacksonville Jaguars has come out and said he's gay. Why is this a headline today?
I don't know. And honestly, I'm starting to see this in a very different way than I've read or heard anyone talk about it. To me, it's becoming more and more homophobic to make this a thing in a story.
Every time?
Than it is everything else.
Or whatever?
Yeah, because I would say that the gay community, trans community, whatever community you want to talk about, what we've heard and read for years is their fight is for equality and to be seen as equal, right? And to not be demeaned or treated any different way in America because of their sexual preference, okay? This is not equality. Hyping a story and putting it on the front page of any media site or newspaper or anything else because of who someone decides they want to sleep with and talking about that should not be a headline in 2023 United States of America. The response to this coach coming out as gay should be mute. Why? Because he should be treated like a human. He should be treated like an assistant strength coach, just like any other assistant strength coach in the NFL. If we've really made progress to this, and we really want to be a progressive society that accepts things, then you treat people with the equality they've fought for forever and don't make it something special. This goes back to my complaint about seeing something and glorifying it as opposed to just ignoring it or not glorifying it, right? The Texas Rangers decided not to have a Pride Night. Well, that's not the Texas Rangers saying, I hate gay people, don't come to our Texas Rangers game if you're gay. Don't even bother buying a ticket. They're not saying that. They're just saying we as an organization are choosing not to celebrate this one thing. But we want everyone to come to our games, just like everyone who owns a sports team wants to sell as many tickets as possible. And every NFL team wants to win games. They should be employing the best people possible, whether that be a gay assistant strength coach or a black head coach at some point or a Hispanic offensive coordinator. That's what we all want. All of us that have a brain and some level of compassion want that to happen. They want that true equality. These headlines are not true equality. It's getting to the point where it's almost homophobic. Hutton, if you and I had a guest in here, an African-American, and we pointed out the fact that, hey, as a black man and as a black person, how many times do we have to say that before it came across as racist?
Well, but
so pointing to someone's sexual preference over and over and over again at some point becomes homophobic.
But, whenever it's positioned as, groundbreaking or major announcement in the NFL, it's viewed differently. And it's just because of the importance put behind it. But again, if we rewound a year, 2 years, we're discussing what's going on in Miami with the Dolphins. And then you have fast forward to the questions that Todd Bowles is getting at Tampa Bay Buccaneers camp, where he's saying, I don't view myself as an African-American coach. I'm a football coach. That should be the discussion. That goes back to your overriding point here. And, I honestly don't care one way or the other how people want to live their life if it doesn't affect mine. And quite honestly, Chad, see if you agree. Sports fans, as long as you're not as long as their decision isn't affecting what's going on with your team, my team, by and large, people just don't care. Are you hurting the team? Don't want you a part of it.
Totally agree. And, you know, it's do you want to be equal or do you want to be special?
Right.
I think that people who have fought for whatever rights for years and years, and I'm not talking about just based on sexual preference. It could be based on race, could be based on creed, you know, religion, political affiliation, whatever it may be. That fight has always been about, we just want it to be equal. We don't want to be singled out as something worse than someone else or less than someone else. We just want to be treated as equal. And if you're in a professional setting, you want to be treated as professionals. Judge me on the merit of my talent and how good I am in my work ethic, and if I'm good at what I'm doing, and don't demean me or discriminate against me because of sex or sexual preference or race or whatever it may be. But now we've reached this point in society where it's weird that it's okay to elevate someone because of sexual preference. And I don't buy that. I don't play that game either.
Yeah.
So my reaction to this headline shouldn't be a headline anywhere. Should not be a top story anywhere. I do not care what the assistant strength coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who he prefers to sleep with.
Yeah.
I don't. I'll never care
what he does
about
in his free time.
And no one else should either. And you know what that is? True progress. That's equality. Because I don't care what straight people think and who they prefer to sleep with either. Now that's where we're getting to somewhere that's a place of equality.
Chad, it was 2014 when Michael Sam was drafted, to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And here we are, and we see the headlines all over the place. And he would admit this too, an assistant strength coach that no one had ever heard of, right? That's the other factor here too. Is it impacting the team or not? By and large, that's what fans and that's what fans of the league or any league or fans of that individual team care about. Is it impacting the overall product on the field? And especially if you're a fan of a major fan, full investment in that one team, is it hurting or helping us? And in this case, it's not doing either because it's off the field and it's his own personal choosing and choice of way of life.
Well, and also I would say this, if it was a situation where the person wasn't doing anything but showing up to work and doing a good job and going about their business, and their sexual preference or them coming out or any of that affected the team in some way, then you should probably take a look at your team.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I mean, that would be my response to that story is then, well, why is that such a big issue if they're not doing anything to be a distraction and they're just showing up and working? Then you probably need to reevaluate the culture of your team at that point. But this is, I don't think this is a story.
Chad.
But again, I'm in the minority because
I agree with you.
Every media company treated this as a big story.
Oh, a top headline.
Yeah.
Groundbreaking. Chad, RG3 is giving, and by and large, whenever Robert Griffin III chimes in with, it has a thought process I'm interested in. I don't believe he totally prescribes to the idea of groupthink. But in this regard, he's trying to back up running backs across the NFL. In doing so, he's discussing going back to the negotiation table and discussing the CBA with owners as the NFLPA to override everything that we're seeing right now with Saquon Barkley, who's threatening to sit out the season, or Josh Jacobs, who hasn't signed his franchise tag yet. There are others that are backing the running backs and what they're doing right now. RG3's doing the same, but in his attempts to make a case for Barkley and Jacobs in the running back market and showing leverage, I believe he misses a couple of obvious points as to why his method for change is a pipe dream.
Here we go. Running backs have an opportunity in front of them to change the NFL forever. The only real solution to fix how running backs are treated when it's time to get paid is a solution for all players. Running backs have to lead the charge in pushing for a renegotiation of the CBA, with the key points being that all rookies have 3-year contracts, regardless of their draft position, and eliminating the franchise tag and transition tag for all players. This solution wouldn't just benefit running backs, but it would benefit all players by getting them to free agency faster. When you look at running backs specifically, they are being devalued not just because it's a passing league now, and not just because you can find similar production from late round draft picks or undrafted running backs due to the supply and demand of quality backs out there. Special ones are being devalued because they spend the majority of their prime years on their rookie deal. You see, the average NFL career is 3 years long. But when it comes to running backs, that number goes down to 2. And it can take some players up to 6 years long to reach free agency off of their rookie deal. So a running back with 6 years of poundage on them? Yeah, they're treated by NFL decision makers like Britney Spears was by Wemby, with slap-in-the-face contract offers.
So it goes on for another minute, and he does get to how other players have to come to the aid of the running back position. And he mentions in a tweet response to this, Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. There's a list of quarterbacks that he says need to take on the LeBron James role and more or less take over as execs for the NFLPA and go back to negotiations for a collective bargaining agreement. Though, here's the one area that I think he skips over that is crucial to know about all of this and why it's a pipe dream. Those negotiating the collective bargaining agreement, both the owners and the players, they do not care about two main areas and branches of the league tree. Before the most recent pay structure, the pay scale, rookies were coming into the league, they were holding out, and they're making more money than the veterans on the team that are going through two-a-days in training camp. There was a list of holdouts, especially first-rounders. They're not getting what they want. They're going to hold out. They come 23 days, 28-day holdout during camp, whatever it might be, and they get a massive signing bonus, a massive contract, and you're locked into it. So that changed. Now it's about the vets, not the rookies. Everything is slotted. And there are negotiations that took place back in 2011, a revamped version that they're playing under now that was negotiated and signed up for, and it's why we point to the Players Association for the National Football League as being weak and the weakest of the major sports right now. Neither side of these negotiations care about rookie contracts. They don't. They're not taking into account college players that are about to come in and take over their jobs. In fact, they negotiated that out to get the veterans more money who were negotiating it in the first place. They also don't care about the agent's percentage, which is why agents now are coming into the league with high-profile players, and they're waiving the percentage that they would get, the 3%, 5%, whatever, on whatever pay structure is already just slotted, because there's not a ton to negotiate at that point. The average length of an NFL career is small regardless of what position you're playing. But that's also why they're using these rules to their advantage. And why would the NFL and the owners come back to the drawing board on behalf of Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, who can make $10.1 million guaranteed for signing a piece of paper whenever they so choose? That's what it's more about. The players who negotiate for the rights of the current players. They're not taking into account rookie contracts. And they certainly don't want the rookies coming in, not having proven a thing as a pro, making more than the vet who just signed an extension the previous offseason.
Yeah, and issues around the rookie contract dictating a move back to the negotiating table for a whole new CBA. And also, look, there's no arguing what some of these top-level running backs are saying. They are being devalued, and this is the cycle we're in right now in the NFL. But I'd also say that's a very small percentage of players playing in the NFL. And I think the percentage is actually higher of those that benefit from the current length of rookie contracts if you're a first-round pick. There are plenty of guys who don't work out that get a big benefit by getting that guaranteed money, or the patience of it, right? Yeah. But also the guaranteed money they get. We've seen that with running backs that have benefited from the length of a rookie deal.
Yes.
That had no business making that money because they got to the NFL and they weren't that good, or they got hurt all the time. So just like it's not paying off for these select group of, first-round pick or top-level first-round type guys at running back, doesn't mean that it hasn't benefited a lot of other people. And while it's not fair for those select few guys, it still doesn't make it fair to completely blow up the system to try to change it for those select few guys.
Well, but also consider what the argument that's being made is for these first-round guys, right? Or those that are just under the tag. You're right. That's a very small number that actually don't benefit from the structure because the backups, those trying to work their way up, they've been doing so, and the length of the career is still the same average. They've been doing so for far less than whatever money was signed for with Saquon. I understand his argument. The problem is everything points to the way it's set up being not correct, but it works because there's production in a very specialized position now instead of just having the bell cow. Even the second or third most highest running back this year, I think second now, is Derrick Henry behind Christian McCaffrey. Derrick Henry is taken off the field on third downs. That's how specialized an NFL offense is for that position. Even when you're getting a ton of money, he's off the field on third down. While I want my best player on the field on third down, I would put him on there. That's the league saying we need the better matchup on a passing down instead of the guy out of the backfield who has a hell of a stiff arm out of the backfield when he's catching screens. It's bizarre, I know, but they don't hold the leverage. The quarterbacks can get the money. I'm not sure any other position could. Coming up, Jonathan Isaac joins us in studio. We'll discuss a lot with the NBA forward.
Two biggest social media giants, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, are set to battle it out, and I'm here on Broadway asking people who they put their money on. Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, they're going to fight each other. Who do you think's going to win?
I think Mark's got him.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Because he's a man.
Okay, and Elon Musk isn't?
Oh, well, of course, he's got money.
Okay.
He's got money. Money, well, you know, money's money.
Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg in a fight?
I don't know. I'm going to go with Musk.
Why?
He just seems like he's a little bit younger, a little bit smarter.
You just got a good feeling about him?
I got a good feeling.
Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg?
Musk.
Why?
He trains. That guy's going to beat his.
But Mark Zuckerberg is actually training jiu-jitsu for 9 months.
Not happening. Not Elon Musk all day. Elon Musk.
Why do you think?
He has no soul. I mean, I think he's definitely just going to no holds barred.
Elon Musk.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. I feel like he's stronger and smarter.
Oh, Elon Musk.
All the way? Why?
All the way. He's an animal. Think about it.
Mark Zuckerberg's been training for 9 months jiu-jitsu. You think Elon Musk can take him?
Yeah, I think he can take him.
Elon, that oh God, stop playing with Elon. Elon really do this out here, for real.
I hope Elon
Really? Why do you think so?
got better ideas.
Zuckerberg's like 5'7", 155. Musk is 6'1", 190. But Zuckerberg's been training jiu-jitsu for 9 months. Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, who's going to win in a fight?
Oh, Elon Musk. No doubt.
Why do you think so?
He's the GOAT. I've been seeing all the Twitter handles and all the talk, and I'm on Elon Musk's side. I'm ready for them to get in the WWE ring and then come off the top rope. That's what I want to see. I want to see a people's elbow to Mark Zuckerberg.
If one was more likely to be a lizard or a robot, who would it be?
Elon. Elon.
Okay.
I think Mark Zuckerberg will win.
Why do you think that?
Because I think he already trains MMA. So he's got like the prior experience and stuff. I mean, they're both billionaires, so they have the opportunity to get the best training. But I think Mark Zuckerberg will pull away with the win.
Elon Musk.
Why do you think so?
Because he's bigger.
Bigger, okay, but Mark Zuckerberg's been training jiu-jitsu for 9 months. Do you think that matters?
No.
Because Elon Musk's he's gonna learn and train, right? So
Yeah. I think he'll handle Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg's a lizard, right? So
he's a lizard, but does that help him?
I don't think so. I think Elon will squash the lizard.
Cage fight. Elon Musk is mental, so Elon Musk.
All it is just he's mental. He's mentally crazy. So
He just wouldn't care, would he?
Okay.
He'd just absolutely go for it. I think Zuckerberg would be a bit more refrained.
Okay.
If that should ever happen, which I doubt, but you never know, it'd be entertaining.
Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg?
Elon Musk.
Why?
Because my dad is in love with Elon Musk.
Okay.
I think I'm going to have to go with Zuckerberg. I mean, Threads just came out, so.
Who do you think would win?
Zuck.
Why do you think so?
Because he's not a real human. He's a robot.
So he'll use that to his advantage.
Yeah, and all the Krav Maga stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you think would win in a fight, Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk?
Elon Musk.
Why do you think Elon Musk?
I think Elon's smarter. He works with robots, so maybe he built a robot to fight for him.
But what if Mark Zuckerberg is a robot?
Oh wow. Then I might have to change my answer.
Who do you think is gonna win?
Me.
Sixth and Peabody, our location with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Glad you're with us for Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick network. Chad, NBA player's not hard to miss, right?
No.
Jonathan Isaac certainly qualifies. 6'11", coming into Sixth and Peabody. Gets a lot of glances like, oh, there's a pro athlete walking by. And he sits down with us live in studio, Orlando Magic's forward. Jonathan, good to see you, man. Hope everything's great in Nashville for you this Friday. We're pumped we're going into the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I'm glad to be here, fellas. Thank you.
Absolutely. Is it odd? I find it odd, even to myself, as I think, oh, Jonathan Isaac's coming in. He's the player who stood for the anthem more than just NBA player Jonathan Isaac. Do you get that as much as you do NBA questions?
I really do. I really do. As this kind of whole journey has taken off, I'm surprised all the time that through the airport, people know me for different things outside of just basketball. And I do like it because I do believe that I'm more than a basketball player. And so when I do get greetings and people say you're the one, or for something else, for the book, for all those things, I'm excited about it.
And now you're launching a brand, the anti-woke brand, Unite Us, which you're sporting right now.
Yeah.
And you've got the website, weareunitus.com. Tell us about the initiative there and what you're doing with the brand currently.
Yeah, so for me, it goes back to 2020. I was a Nike signed athlete, and I didn't end up re-signing with them after I got injured. And at that point, I started to play around with the idea of what would it look like to start my own values-based sports and apparel company and wear my own sneakers and do it that way. And really, the heartbeat of it is just as our country, society, faith, family, and freedom are super important to me, and I felt like we've moved farther and farther away from those values and principles, and I wanted to take an opportunity to celebrate them through Unite Us. And so to give consumers and people who want to buy dope merch, dope sportswear, leisure wear, an opportunity to buy with their values and celebrate those values that I hold dear in my personal life.
Jonathan, what do you think is the most unfair thing that's been said about you, either in the wake of standing for the national anthem when all of your Magic teammates kneeled, or if it's your stance on COVID vaccine? I know that you're a very smart guy. I mean, anybody can listen to you for 30 seconds and know how smart you are. So I know you read, and I know you read these things about you, both negative and positive, right? So what's the negative thing that you've read that you would say, okay, this is the most unfair thing about me and the characterization of who I am?
So I won't say something specific, but I would say whenever I see something that is just a mischaracterization of what I know that I've said, and so when people just kind of take things and run with them, I'd say probably if I do get specific, it would be the Rolling Stone article back during the COVID times. So I got on the phone with a Rolling Stones reporter, and we talked about the whole COVID situation and me not taking the vaccine. And then the article drops, and it's a complete mischaracterization of my position on everything. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to right the wrongs in that video that went viral of me at the press conference. But I'd say that, and just when I'm taken completely out of context and not for what I've said.
Do you get, it won't be an apology, but do you have people that come up like, man, I wish I would have listened more to you than scoffed at whatever you were saying?
I've had that a few times, even from guys around the league or different players that have said, "Yo, if that was to happen again, more so the COVID situation, they wouldn't be on board with it as easily as it was the first time."
I don't know where you come down on your thoughts on the United States women's national team, but how do you feel about those who are even posing the question whether or not they would stand for the anthem because they would be supporting the United States women's national team in the World Cup?
Say that one more time. What exactly do you mean?
There are those that are actually they're either considering not rooting for the United States in the Women's World Cup, and even asking, should we, in protest of what they stand for the anthem ourselves. I find that extremely hypocritical, considering many of the people that I know were on backing your efforts and standing for the anthem because it's the national anthem. Even posing the question that you would take a knee or remain seated, but because you're not supportive of the team in attendance.
Yeah, for me, it's twofold. Like, me standing in the bubble, it definitely primarily was because of everything that was going on at the time with, the tragic death of George Floyd in that situation. I didn't feel comfortable aligning myself with the Black Lives Matter movement and organization, and I felt that I had my own solution, which was the gospel. And I wanted to share that as an antidote to all the problems that we see in our country, not just racism. And so that was the primary goal for me. And the second thing is that I don't think that pride in America is a bad thing. I don't think that having a hopeful outlook on our country is something that is negative. I think it's something that we should all share and that I think bands us together as Americans. And so for me, I've always been, I'd say it like this. My pastor says it all the time. He says, you haven't done everything right, but you haven't done everything wrong either. And I think about America like that. Obviously, we know about the struggles of America's founding and slavery and all those things, and they're absolutely wrong and terrible. But America hasn't done everything wrong. And, I'm blessed to live in this country and play the game that I love. And I think that I was in an Uber on the way over here, and a guy recognized me, and he said, "Oh, you're the one who stood for the anthem." And he talked about he came over from Iraq, and he said, "Listen, people talk about this and that, but if they were to go over there and see what I saw and had to go through," and he talked about he served in our military. And so just stuff like that, I think it's good to have a positive outlook on the country that we live in.
NBA forward Jonathan Isaac in studio with us on Hot Mic.
Now, Charles Barkley had a lot of things to say about people who decided to boycott Bud Light and made assumptions about why they were doing that, because they're anti-gay, anti-trans, homophobic, whatever it may be. There's often times where, and you and I share the same faith, where our faith does contradict the world, right, and what we believe is out there. There's also a difference in hating something and not wanting to celebrate it. Mm-hmm. I thought you laid it out well in your tweet in referencing Charles Barkley and what he said, and that is that no one's saying that people don't deserve rights in this country, right? It's more about personal choice. What did that rant say to you? What would your response be to what Charles Barkley had to say and the whole boycott itself of Bud Light?
Yeah, so for me, I always just preface it with, I'm not for the controversy. I understand that these topics are extremely polarizing, and it does suck that it is that way. I thought about it a few times, like, okay, should I even touch this at all, knowing what happens, when you put your mouth on this kind of topic. But I was frustrated to a degree and felt the need to say something. I wasn't necessarily frustrated at Charles. I was frustrated at the narrative that he was attacking. And for me, that narrative is the same narrative that that's the same kind of on a lot of hot button issues, is that if you have any concern, any pushback, any hesitation to jump on board and support these different ideas, it's rooted in hatred. And that is the narrative that I don't like. And I think that that's the narrative that's easy to attack. And so that's what Charles did. And so for me, I think that there is reasonable concern for a lot of Americans when it comes to that specific topic, concern for their own children and what they're learning in schools and what's being taught, all those different things, and concern for the kids that are going through such an identity crisis at the same point in time. And I think just the notion that only one side is coming from a side of compassion, I think that's wrong. I think that a lot of parents are concerned about truth, concerned about what's being put out there, and have the right and freedom to do so. And so again, it's a hot button topic. Not everybody likes to touch it or talk about it, and to each his own. But I did feel the need to offer the narrative that I think most Americans are feeling at this point in time. I don't think that there are some that are rooted in hatred, and I would disagree with them. And shoot, I think Charles is right to say what he had to say, but the majority of Americans, I think, do have a heartbeat that is coming from a compassionate and concerned place.
Everything has to be an argument instead of a discussion.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
that's the vibe I get, and I think it's media driven more than anything, because it's very divisive on what channel you watch, who you listen to, who you don't listen to, and it's more about who's wrong than who's right, and that turns into the argument instead of the discussion.
And I see, I want you, Jonathan, on every media outlet.
Yeah.
You know, not just OutKick. Like I say that wholeheartedly. We need more people rooted in being reasonable and intelligent and not just trying to provoke or start a fight on every media outlet right now. So I think I'm glad you did the interview with Rolling Stone. I hate that they misrepresented what you were saying, right? But isn't that an example of kind of where we are right now in America?
1,000%. That was kind of my first wake-up call to there being a, I don't necessarily know the right thing to call it, but a machine, call it what you want, propaganda, or people talk about the media twisting words or things like that. I was oblivious to it until it happened to me. And so I was able to look at it word for word and say, I didn't say that, or that was a complete mischaracterization. And again, that's a lot of what goes into why I want to start Unitas and why I want people to have the freedom of choice to support what they want to support. For me, it's about agreeing to disagree to a degree, whereas people can believe what they want to believe. But if you support these values that I hold dear, and I think a lot of other Americans hold dear too, you can go to a place that supports those values.
What would your teammates at Florida State or would the Magic say about you? I ask that because I think the perception out there from a lot of people would be this guy disagrees with the NBA stance, so he's probably not well liked in his own locker room by NBA players. How would you answer that question about what your guys think of you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have my teammates and a lot of guys around the league's respect. Again, kind of a agree to disagree standpoint, whereas a lot of guys disagree with me on a lot of different issues. My decision to stand at the end of the day, but I respect them and they respect me for it. And love my teammates. I go to war with them each night when we play, and we go from there. I think another thing is that they know that I care about them. My teammates know that I'll go the extra mile, and if anybody's injured, if anybody needs a shoulder to talk to, Jonathan is there, and so they know that.
Jonathan Isaac in studio with us. The website is We Are Unitas. It's the new brand that launches next month, right?
Yeah, August 1st. You can go to We Are Unitas on Instagram and Twitter just to keep everything tuned in so you don't miss anything. But you can also head to weareunitas.com to plug in your email and stay tuned.
How long did it take to come up with the design for the branding?
The sneaker. So I'm going to be wearing a Unitas Judah 1 this upcoming season. And so that's going to drop closer to the season. That took 1.5 years. But the merch, not as long, but it did take a while. And it's just been a dope process. Like, what does it look like to be in the NBA, but also take on the role of being a CEO is really weird. It's really strenuous, but it's been really fun. And I've had, a joy rehabbing and getting back to playing basketball and doing this on the side.
Considering you can wear sneakers made in China and Chinese-based companies, I guess it's not that hard to get it approved by the NBA to have your own sneaker brand. But is there a process to be able to create your own brand and wear those sneakers through the NBA? Do they have to approve of what you're wearing?
No, I don't think there's a process. Really, I know that there's not a process. I think there are a few restrictions already out there that the NBA won't allow you to do when it comes to material or way that you make a shoe. But for the most part, you can wear what you want to wear.
What is Victor Wembanyama in for?
No, I think he's going to have a great career. I think it's definitely going to take some time. Looking at summer league, he's going to have to find his footing a bit. And I've heard some comments that people have had to say about him not being able to take contact and what that's going to look like. We'll see. But obviously a super skilled kid, and we'll just figure out when we find out.
Man, I just don't know. All of the hype and you've got
tough.
Everyone's saying that he's the next guy, and then all of the defensive-minded players are like, "Try driving on me." Draymond's like,
I probably got it.
He's not coming at the rim on me.
In my mind, but we'll see. I think he's going to be a great player, have a great career, and I wish him the best.
You played in 13 games because of injuries? Only 13 games since 2020, or
something like that.
Date.
It's something crazy.
Are you finally to a point where you're confident? This is the season where you're back?
Yeah, I'm ready to rock. I'm 100%. So I'll be ready to go this upcoming season. I feel great about it.
Love that you stopped by while you're in Nashville, and love the brand, love the website and everything behind it.
It looks cool.
It does.
I appreciate
WeAreUnitas.com is where you can find Jonathan Isaac and Unitas, the brand there. Plus, you can find him on the court coming up soon as well.
I'm sure he got a bunch of free gear he's going to give to us also, and that huge.
I do like the design.
I would need to send you guys
Greatness.
some stuff.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Great chat there with Jonathan Isaac, and the logo itself. The concept was the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
He said.
I immediately thought of Raiders of the Lost Ark because I just watched an Indiana Jones movie when I thought of that. No, really, really smart guy. Fun just sitting down, talking with him about a number of issues. Seems like the type that is going to have a well thought out opinion on almost every topic that you could ask him about.
Not everyone wants to hear the well thought out opinion, though, Chad.
No, they don't.
No conversation. Argument only, please.
But I am glad, it sucks to hear that the Rolling Stone interview went so poorly. You could also understand, okay, this is what Rolling Stone is trying to spin back then when it comes to COVID vaccines and
of course
vaccine mandates. And here we're trying to get at someone who's trying to paint him out to be some Christian idiot or whatever they want to, try to spin it as. I just wish that, you could be treated fairly. If you're him, I want him to be treated fairly within the media based on the merits of what he has to say on issues, good or bad, and not just, I think this of this guy because he has these opinions.
WeAreUnitas.com is where you can find the brand and the initiative behind it from Jonathan Isaac, who is on his way back to Orlando, getting ready for the season.
And he's 100% healthy now, ready to go.
The brand launch, absolutely. Coming up, time to get weird. Let's get weird. Davey Hudson brings the bizarre headlines from the week. Next on Hot Mic.
Pat Fitzgerald has been fired. Pat Fitzgerald, the beleaguered, the weirdo, I guess, or his weird players, has been fired by Northwestern University. And the Northwestern children, the players, are not happy about it. They are not taking it well. Well, I ask you, Northwestern players. In fact, I just put out a video to Northwestern players that are mad. And they're mad because, well, the old coach. The old coach got blank canned because, well, the players decided it was a good idea to get naked, do naked crawls, naked claps, naked soap up themselves in front of the shower and make players run through because the players of Northwestern really are perverted. I mean, I'll never understand it. Now, I got guys saying, well, Bobby Knight, you guys hazed just in a different way, yelling and screaming. Yeah, you're right. We did. Tough. You don't like it? So what? But we never did the nudity thing. We never did the sexual assault thing. We never did the stuff, hey, we're going to slap you and dry hump you. At some point, the players, don't you agree, the players of Northwestern got to look themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? This is kind of on us. You know what? We caused a lot of this. You know what? We shouldn't have done that. Now, every time I see a Northwestern player from now on, I'm like, yeah, you're a weirdo. Used to be every time I saw a Northwestern player, I'd be like, man, you're a tough dude. You played for a tough coach, played for a high-end academic institution. I'd hire you in a second. Now I'm like, yeah, you got a bunch of weirdos running around there. Now I'm like, what in the hell are you doing there in the locker room at Northwestern? And I told you yesterday that this firing was coming because of this one reason. When you have to have outside people monitor your locker room because your players are perverts, because your coach allows it, because it's a culture of somehow, some way naked hazing. And no one's denying the hazing, by the way. So it's not like I'm speaking out of school. Sure, Fitzgerald, Fitz, whatever, is a great dude. Sure, he is the face of Northwestern. I would argue he's the most important figure in the history of Northwestern athletics. Nobody's not saying good dude. But he did what a lot of dumb meathead coaches do. He got on his little mount. He's got his little pillar. He's got his little kingdom. And on top of the kingdom is him. And he got to thinking he was untouchable because no coach with any common sense would allow that in this day and age. I don't know what they were doing back when Bear Bryant was having guys out at camp. I don't know what they were doing when Kay first started. I don't know what they were doing at Indiana when Knight first started. I only know what I've been involved in, and it's never involved dry humping other men or nudity. Just saying. In the locker room. Naked. On my team. Never. Anywhere, actually, but never. Used to give you a ball tap once in a while out in public just to say hello. But I got to tell you, it's just the weirdest thing. And none of these players are taking any accountability. You know what they're doing? They're doing the Biden strategy. This went from the Bob Knight strategy of round up all the players, ex-players, whoever, and talk great things about this strong man. Look at his chin. Yeah, that's what they do.
Our thanks to John McClain and Jonathan Isaac for joining us so far on the show. Coming up in about 40 minutes, The Gun Show. Mike Gunzelman, OutKick.com, joins us in studio. Here at 6th and Peabody with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Glad you're with us for Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick network. Chad, to say Davey has been fiending for Let's Get Weird is an understatement. Would you agree?
Davey's desire to satiate his weirdness is always at 100 at all times. So it was about 120 today. But I think in part because of the news, this Creed cruise really got him going.
All week long, he's been pumped about that. Yep. And after a great job over at SEC Media Days, helping facilitate the chats that we had throughout the week, he is back with us in studio, and he is back with Let's Get Weird. Davey, what do you have for us?
Yes, so to get us started, guys, first off, thank you. Had a great week at SEC Media Days. A lot of fun talking with the players, coaches, other media members behind the scenes. But we're going to get weird, so I'm shifting off of that right now. Maybe you've heard of Cocaine Bear, but have you heard of Cocaine Shark?
I've not heard of Cocaine Shark yet.
Yes.
And I have not seen Cocaine Bear. Have any of us seen that?
Davey
has.
Did the necessary research to watch the film. Davey, what'd you think of the film?
I mean, I wanted to honor Ray Liotta with seeing his last film, but it was not a good movie.
That is tough.
I didn't even realize that.
As far as last films go, they didn't make a sequel to Goodfellas that he was in. It was Cocaine Bear.
Well, this was made out to be like I felt like the promos for it, the talk about it was more like The Hangover 3 or something than what it actually was, which is something I'm not going to watch because I haven't heard anyone tell me I should watch it after they watched it, including Davey Hudson.
Yeah, I think it's on Peacock, but one of the main ties I had to it was just, this initially was based off a true story, the premise, not the actual thing that happened, and where they had dropped several packages of cocaine into the Smoky Mountains. A bear ended up getting into it, and things got crazy from there.
But they focused on the wrong aspect of the story.
Well, yeah, they just went and sensationalized the whole thing about, all right, the bear's not actually going to die from ingesting all this cocaine at once. Instead, it's going to then have a hankering for more cocaine and keep trying to track down people until it gets more cocaine.
So that has led, maybe it hasn't led to people thinking about other animals because it was already happening with an investigation. But that's the first headline here as we go into the ocean instead of on land.
Yes, so for Cocaine Shark, it's actually a documentary. It's not a movie, but what it is, and I mean, it was a creative for them to use this name, but there's this marine biologist who's setting out to find out, are wildlife actually ingesting cocaine whenever drug smugglers are dropping it in the ocean, and then a motorboat's going to come by, pick it up, and we're just kind of curious, like, what is this what impact is this having on our waterways and our oceans with these drugs being put in there? And a lot of people, it's just a fun fact for the day. I always like to say, if you hate this segment, at least take one thing away from it. People often use that phrase, sharks can smell blood from a mile away. That's not true. They smell just like any other fish. Maybe they could smell blood in up to the size of a small swimming pool. So just know that smelling blood from a mile away is not true. So that's the fun you can have, or the good thing you can take away, knowing you learned something from here. But it is interesting. And
Davey's here to debunk commonly held myths. On
blood in the ocean.
It's just weird because I look at this, and obviously with the drug smuggling, one of the last documentaries I actually worked on before moving to OutKick was about the Sinaloa drug cartel and more of the big business practices and how these cartels were moving such huge loads of drugs across the border.
That's why he's going to the Creek Cruise.
In so many different ways. No, but man, now that you say it, I can only imagine the narcotics that are going to be aboard that ship. Man.
The Mule Cruise. Yeah.
But
you're interested in like the drug cartel stuff, right?
Yeah, I find it fascinating.
The aspect of
watch Narcos, right?
Yes.
Dropping something into the ocean in order for it to be picked up, and the planning and the precise aspect that goes in, like everything's at risk once you put it in the water, right?
Yeah.
Out in the middle of the ocean. And
it's not our lane. It's not humans' lane to be out in the ocean. It's their world.
I'm sitting here
ours.
thinking the fact that they have to do that says that whatever is going on trying to do that on land is not feasible.
It's very difficult.
So they
apparently.
have to do it in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. I was going home yesterday on the interstate, and I noticed it was like the undercover cop SUV was there, and there were undercover cops that clearly
It was
like
just me passing.
narc cops, right?
Yeah.
They were dressed like young, hip guys. They had guns in the back of their belt. They were out in the side of the interstate searching through the grass on the side of the interstate with the light on in their Cadillac Escalade looking for something. And my mind was wondering, like, did someone ditch drugs there? They thought like they were about to get pulled over and threw it to the side of the road, and they saw something come out of the window. Like, why would they be searching? Very busy area of Nashville. It's like the crossing of 5 interstates, and they were out there with different devices, just 2 of them, looking for something in the grass.
Maybe it's the latest warrant execution looking for Tupac's.
Next week, Davey will have an answer for us. He's going to find out what they were looking for.
What else do you have, Davey?
I'll find that out. Yeah, so I also had a video. Chad, you had kids. You have kids. There's this bath bomb. Sorry.
There's no breaking news there. My kids are still around.
You had kids.
Yeah, I still have them.
I just misspoke. But there's a bath bomb that I saw. It's like if you're a fan of Jaws, I just thought this was interesting. I wanted to show. We can just talk over it.
Yeah.
But it's just like a toy for kids. And so, with going with the cocaine shark thing, I was like, what? This would just be neat to show. They unwrap
this is what we saw earlier, though.
Yeah.
This already aired?
Yep.
This is what we saw
already
earlier.
Saw this, yep.
So you're saying where
I was as confused as you, Dave.
Yeah.
The story
it looks like a bath bomb.
Yeah. Sorry. I was looking at the camera, wasn't able to see over there.
No, you're fine.
But yeah. Okay, well, fine. Let's move along.
This is good to see.
No,
again.
this is fine. So what is the toy supposed to do? I'm still confused by the toy.
It turns into a shark, though.
Yeah, and the water turns to be like blood.
Okay.
But apparently it puts off a nice smell. But a lot of people always talk about that. I was kind of
smell of iron.
Yeah, I was kind of going back to just saying about the smelling a drop of blood in the water. But apparently that's a popular toy in Japan.
So, actual toy, or is this a joke?
I guess not more of a toy, but a bath bomb. That kids play with. There's like a couple of different ones they have. But the Jaws theme.
Apparently, kids
popular.
in Japan are very different from
Your
kids
kids
in America.
don't when they take a bath, they have it like drop something in like a.
Oh yeah, they have bath bombs.
But then it like grows into something larger or whatever it was, like a sponge or whatever.
It's not. It doesn't like form.
No,
shapes.
no, not the bath bomb, but like a toy. Like it's something that then
it gets bigger in water, expands.
Is that what this is? But it's
yes.
Well, a bath bomb is like it's a collection of. It's almost like a powdery substance. Like you drop it in, but it's congealed into a way that is a shape, but then you drop it and it goes into color.
This is like a level up from something you would get at a county fair, where it looks like a boat. You drop it into water, it turns into a shark, and it releases something that Davey claims smells great.
I'm clearly not a chemist with the way I just described that.
Do you think Davey takes baths? Do you think Davey takes baths?
Davey seems like a bath guy, like a lukewarm
I
bath
thought about
water
asking
guy.
this. I don't think he does because he conserves water to save money for the Creek Cruise.
That's true. I don't know. Baths just.
But normally bath or shower, Davey.
Oh, shower. I'm also a shower at night guy. because I don't like coming home from the
Long
gym
time ago.
and just being
Davey, I got to tell you, I don't
sweaty.
like guys who get dirty while they sleep and sweat in their sleep.
I
and
didn't
then
like
don't
going to sleep
shower in the
dirty.
morning.
Well, the thermostat stays on 68 degrees, so it's hard to build up a sweat.
I still feel like 8 hours of just being dormant. Like it's 8 hours of living, no matter what. I like to take a shower to start the day, not to end the day.
I don't.
I'd like to take both if I could.
I want to be as clean as possible going to bed because I'm not changing my sheets every day.
I'm a shower before work type guy.
How often do you wash your sheets then?
He doesn't.
I don't wash anything in my house.
One of the au pairs takes care of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have hired help
when they're
for
done
that.
with Clay's house.
But it's washed frequently.
What else?
All right, this next story, just going complete 180, has nothing to do with sharks or anything of that nature. So we got an NBA, or a man who has been banned from all NBA-related events. He's a little bit of a prankster, goes on YouTube. But his most recent addition, he goes by the name of Gideon, I believe is how you pronounce this. But he decided, he went to this WNBA game, had courtside tickets. He first started to complain to the refs that the temperature in the arena was too cool, and he was hoping they could turn it up so he would feel better. That was the first antic. The next antic, a ball actually came to him, and he decided to just shoot it on the court. Obviously an air ball, so that doesn't go over well for him. And then he decides, you know what, I'm just going to take a nap right here. I believe we have a picture of that. And... Yes. Well, here's the shot. You can see his form is impeccable, and it comes up pretty short.
Yeah, not a great attempt.
He already had.
He's also got a backpack on. It's hard to shoot the ball and not shoot it short when you've got a backpack on.
It's also hard to shoot if you're like, especially if your shirt's tucked in too.
So, he's begging to get kicked out, right?
It got to that
for the
point.
Publicity of this.
Yes, but that's the thing. He didn't know that it would lead. This is a WNBA event. But the ban has been applied to all NBA events.
I mean, is this really going to affect him? Is he a big NBA fan? Does he attend a lot of games
Well,
in the NBA?
He went viral not too long ago because he decided to get his hair buzzed at, I can't remember which NBA game it was, but you can see him just sitting there, and he's got a barber behind him. And the broadcast even cut to it.
So he's kind of like a Sacha Baron Cohen of basketball. That's what you're saying. He just changes into characters and does crazy things in front of people to try to get attention.
Oh, you guys might have been there because it was a Minnesota game. I realized it was Dallas versus Minnesota whenever he was getting his hair shaved courtside.
He was probably invited to that game.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that at that game. Look, he wasn't asleep in the thing that we saw. It's mildly amusing. I just typically find it to be annoying when people are just setting out to cause a viral sensation and just being annoying in public.
Yes.
I would not. You're not going to find me at a WNBA game, but if I were at a WNBA game, I would not find it all that funny if he was doing it. Hutton, you?
I think they banned him from all NBA events because he's got a track record on his account or whatever he's doing of doing things at other games, and this was a reason to do that.
No, I think it's smart. It's just kind of weird that you look at how he did this and it's funny. I'm not going to lie. Here's how I'll put this. No one's talking about this WNBA game if he doesn't do these antics.
You think he's helping?
I don't even know what
WNBA
court it was on, though.
this.
But yeah, he's definitely not helping.
That's an interesting thing. Yeah, this is really the WNBA should be looking at this like, guys, at least we had attention on this. This Lynx game.
What I like is that there was
really
a
helping
group,
sell the brand to go get courtside seats.
It was Lynx and Wings. Yes.
A YouTuber who got into an NBA Finals game or NBA playoff game. It was one of the conference championships or something, conference finals, and then tried to figure out how to stay overnight in the arena and sleep at the arena, and did so.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of fine print when you buy a ticket. There's also just this public trust of when you get around that many people, that most everyone is going to try to behave themselves.
For the most part.
And not do something crazy that's going to draw all the attention on you and away from whatever's going on. And he violated that trust, so the NBA said GTFO.
Davey, I see the headline with a minute and a half here. A man went blind. Tell us why.
Well, it was partially blind and, not partially. It was temporarily blind. He was trying to break a Guinness World Record for the most consecutive amount of time crying. And to pretty much do this with his face,
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Everything got so puffy that it ended up swelling up on him to where his eyes were partially shut and he kind of went temporarily blind. This was in Nigeria. It's just interesting. It kind of begs the question of what world record do you think you could do? Because that's apparently a big thing right now is just trying to break world records in certain countries in Africa So.
How do they know this world record to begin with? He went over 2 hours crying?
Yeah, well, Guinness...
What, does it count? Does he have to have tears, or can it be like a dry cry?
Well,
at some point, you just don't have tears anymore.
Yeah, so I don't...
Right?
It's one of those things, you know, it's hard...
Yeah, you dehydrate.
You just, like, pour hot sauce in your eyes? Or, like, again, like, I'm trying to figure out how you
like
do
Hutton
this.
said, like a Daniel Day-Lewis type, a method actor that's just really good at crying on demand.
Imagine being the guy who has to be there to verify this world record.
That is the saddest role in the world.
I'm talking about depression.
I'm going to watch a guy cry over and over again and just film it. I'll be the one to document it. Davey, great stuff.
The
Good work.
world record for us, mine would be cricket shirts. Chad, yours would be what?
Crying.
Yeah.
Just like that guy. He's actually trying to beat my record.
That's right. And
of weeping
world
the most times
record
consecutively.
for Davey would be fastest to buy tickets to the Creed cruise, which will be on sale soon.
Creed plays on Spotify. That's Davey's record.
ESPN asking the NFL to buy in. That's next.
This issue of male advantage plaguing women's sports, it only recently came to light, I feel like, for so many, including myself. I was really only became aware of this when I was slapped across the face with it in regards to Leah Thomas. But as you alluded to, this is something that you had experience of. You were well ahead of your time. I mean, 43 years ago, you saw this. And so would you be able to touch on what that experience looked like competing against the East Germans?
And we would have East German athletes turning up to things like, even like the Olympics, and we'd never, ever seen them before. And they would literally arrive and smash world records. They looked and sounded like, you know, very masculine. They had deep voices, very large Adam apple, bad skin, through no fault of their own. You know, I've never had a problem with these individuals. They were pawns of a horrible system. The people I have a big problem with is the IOC. And they allowed this to happen for 20 years. You know, they even had East German doctors sitting on international doping panels. So every time we came up with a way to try and catch them, they would find a way to you know, avoid being caught. And this was allowed to go on for 2 decades. So imagine the number of females that missed out. However, those females only missed out at international competitions, and they predominantly missed out in swimming, track and field, and rowing. What we've got now is 10 times worse, because this is happening across every single sport, at every single level, in every single country. You know, so I've been pushing very hard to say, right, we need to have a female classification, however that looks. Me, ideally, I'd love to bring back sex tests. And then an open and inclusive category so that everyone is still welcome in sport. Because just like you, I'm sure, you want people to do sport. You know, you want people to be physically active, to be healthy, because it helps us, both our body and our minds, you know, and in a world at the moment with mental health, particularly in young girls, through the roof, we need people to be physically active. So it's the last thing in the world I would ever want to do is to ban anyone from sports. I just want to protect the opportunities for people that are biologically female to have equal chance of being able to win medals, put successes onto their onto their CV going forward, get university scholarships, get places on teams, you know, be proud of records that they set, whatever it is. Females are worthy of equal opportunity. We are not second-class citizens, and I'm not prepared to sit back and pretend that we are. So,
amen. Oh my gosh, it's so true. There is no compromise for women. There is nothing that we should have to give up to ensure that trans athletes can compete. But that being said, trans athletes shouldn't be banned from sports. Of course not. And that's something that we see in the States a lot, especially in regards to state legislature being pushed. The opposition, they always say this is an anti-trans bill that bans trans athletes from competing. And that's simply not true. I love how you mentioned it equips people with the right information, with effective messaging, how to communicate about it, what to do. Really powerful. You mentioned in your book, you had a quote, I think it's from Cynthia Millen, and it says, bodies compete against bodies, gender identities don't swim, which is, that's the basis of the argument.
How do we marshal feelings? It's ridiculous. You know, if we turn around and say that we're going to accept a feeling that says someone can feel like a male or a female depending on their feeling, not the reality of their body, where does that stop? You know, what's the next feeling that's going to trump a reality? And we're not doing our kids any favors by not dealing with the truth. You know, it's by telling young children that they're going to be able to change sex when they're not. They're going to have to take medication for the rest of their life. They're going to have to do things to their bodies which will probably shorten their lives.
We have reached the weekend home stretch. Glad you're with us. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow. Just like that, the final hours
So
here.
close.
Friday edition, 6th and Peabody, our location with EHOP Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine.
You're all so close.
There's a boxing weigh-in going on with Misfits.
Hutton, I often say it. You just never know. At 6th and Peabody, you never know what's going to be going on. Could be a rave. Could be a boxing weigh-in. Could be a corporate event.
A rave.
Yeah. I've seen raves here. Big rave guy.
Anything that goes on here is fun.
Could be
up,
a half pipe for skateboarders.
Yeah.
Brian Albanese is out there tearing it up.
BMX.
You never know.
Yeah, coming up, you never know what Guns is bringing in for the segment from OutKick.com. Mike Gunzelman, The Gun Show, shows up here in 20 minutes. Chad, the least surprising headline of anything involving Daniel Snyder is from Jay Gruden, who says that he would dictate certain roster moves, who was drafted, who was signed. I'm not surprised at this at all. He's the owner of the Washington Redskins and Washington Commanders. He can do whatever he wants in that regard. If Bud Adams wants Vince Young and Jeff Fisher wanted Jay Cutler, guess who drafted Vince Young? Floyd Reese and Jeff Fisher. Same goes for Dwayne Haskins in Washington, if in fact it was Daniel Snyder that wanted Haskins as their quarterback. I don't take this as anything more than he's one of 32 owners who can dictate how he wants the organization to look on the field from an aspect of, hey, I really want this player because, well, I own the team and I want him to play for me.
Yeah, he said, he watched no film and he dictated these decisions. And look, I think Jerry Jones probably watches film, but the first name that came to mind is Jerry Jones makes every pick. He is the owner. He is the GM. He does everything for the Dallas Cowboys, and he's widely heralded as one of the top owners in all of sports. And he makes every personnel decision.
Well, he's also the GM
for the Dallas Cowboys.
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I mean,
guess who hired the GM? Jerry Jones.
Now, if we're talking about veto power, or man, I really want this guy that's a local hero, or I really like this guy, and you get final say as the owner. Well, yeah, everyone has that.
Right.
If you were just saying, hey, I read a draft guide, and I really like this guy, you better take him, and him.
Yeah, but that's
a little bit of a different level.
I agree with you, but it doesn't make Daniel Snyder unique in that regard. There are other owners who have done that, or behind the scenes.
Yeah, do they always do it, though? I don't think there's many that always
I don't
say,
think,
I'm going to dictate everything you do. I think they just kind of sign off on it or not.
But I don't think Daniel Snyder's demanding they draft Jahan Dotson, or moving up to make that pick in what lane they're going to be in offense, defense. Chase Young was an obvious selection, right? When they had the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah.
But
I can't remember a ton of Washington decisions, though, where I'm thinking, boy, that's just the worst pick ever. They've been pretty mediocre for a while. They haven't addressed
a lot of it has
offense
been free
enough.
agent signings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing some is just star power. Like he wants to go after someone big in free agency. I don't know. I just, yes, everyone has final say if you're an owner and veto power. To what level does each owner get involved in everything their GM is up to?
Now, overall, broad scope, Snyder was awful. But the fact that the owner wants to choose, whatever quarterback they're about to draft,
that is his
that
right.
Doesn't help the dynamic of why you have guys employed to do that. But it's also, he's the owner of the team.
Yeah,
and that
typically
it goes across the board to me.
Typically, it goes for the owner. If they're not overly involved in everything. With that, it's, I hired you to be the GM. What do you think? Tell me why you like this guy in the 4th round. Okay, you really like this guy in the 4th round for that reason? Go ahead. It's your job. and then they leave it to the GM or the head coach to sell them on why they're making the pick, and then they just check off on it. Or we need this guy in free agency for this reason. Here are the strengths. Here are the weaknesses. Here are our weaknesses that they'll address. Can we make this move? Yeah, fine. Go ahead. That's most of the interaction between GM, coach, and owner.
Yeah.
But occasionally there is you brought up a great example. The owner of the Tennessee Titans that lives in Texas saying, draft Texas hero Vince Young.
Keep him out of Houston.
That is who you will draft. Do not let him go to the Texans.
And the Texans had the number 2 pick, but if they passed on Reggie Bush, that's the year
they went to number 1 and got Mario Williams.
Oh, Mario Williams, number 1. Yeah. So
number 2 was Reggie Bush to the Saints.
And then if Vince Young's available, VY's my guy was the classic line. We're going to show it to the Houston Texans. Chad, the Commanders, John McClain joined us earlier. If you missed that, you can join it and see that on demand with his answer about a name change. Part of that, which you can find on YouTube, was him saying, well, they may just throw it back open to a vote for fans to chime in on. And I'm thinking, if they do that, unless you give them finalist names, if you just open the door for fans to choose, guess what they're going to choose? The Washington Redskins. And that's not coming back because the league made that happen, not Dan Snyder, with the name change. I do think they'll change the name.
I think
Josh Harris has an idea before. I think he's smart if he comes in and he already has the idea on the name.
I think leagues evolve. I think people evolve. I think we've all evolved on a lot of things that just kind of go away. You don't talk about it as much. I think a lot of COVID policies that happened, if they have now been proven to be wrong, they just don't talk about it, and you kind of move away from it, and you don't really admit fault, but you just don't address it anymore. Hutton, I'm with you. I don't think the league is going to say, yeah, let's go full in on the name the Redskins again for the NFL. But my initial reaction was that, and I've asked multiple people on the show this question, would there ever be a time that it would be socially acceptable for Washington to return to the name Redskins? And everyone we've interviewed, John McClain on down, says absolutely not, hell no, it'll never happen. But then I see this headline, and where does my mind immediately go? Redskins 2.0. Here we come. Here we go. It's coming back. That's going to be the team. And you're right, Hutton. If they said, here are your list of 10 options for the new name, and if the Redskins were one of them, it would overwhelmingly be the pick by the fans. Overwhelmingly be the picks. Be the pick. Now, what do I think it's going to be? Probably something like the Washington Hogs or something else that has a tie to the organization.
Yeah.
That's not Redskins.
Well, so Harris is from the D.C. area. He's from Maryland. And it was Magic Johnson who said everything's on the table with a name change. I do think they can't even get their own trademark approved.
Yeah, it's not going to be Commanders.
Yeah. So do they just go back to Washington football team or find something other than that? And I mean, the fact that
here would be my choices. Number 1, Redskins. Probably number 2, Washington football team, sadly.
Right.
Because there's no other name you put next to that would have the historical meaning for that franchise. So might as well just keep the same color scheme, everything else the same, and just say, we're like an English Premier League team, but in America, and we just go Washington football team.
Just
with no nickname. Then we're different, and we're WFT on the ticker for the score. But
Chad, I'm telling, Josh,
everything else is just going to feel fake.
The league, the ownership made concessions in order to approve whatever the money aspect of the loan and finance and everything. They went outside the parameters and guidelines of what is required in order to get Daniel Snyder out and allow Josh Harris and this ownership group to pass through unanimously. That's without question. I don't think Josh Harris is going to say, oh, just to be different, we're going to be the Washington football team. I think the NFL is going to say, hey, here are 3 or 4 names. What do you like? And I guess that process is starting because even Magic Johnson is talking about it. And prior to the 2024 season, and they've got to get that done for all the licensings, the trademarks, the filings, the merch. That's happening now. It's one of the first things they'll end up doing probably.
Well, if one of those 3 or 4 names is Redskins, that would be the pick. Don't think that it will be.
Right.
But that would be the pick. And is there a way they could sell it as? I don't think so. But they're like, man, guys, Josh Harris is cool. Daniel Snyder sucked. So the name in part sucked because Daniel Snyder and him.
Oh,
and
nothing
now
to
that
do
we've
with
got
the
good
Native Americans and tribes.
None of the racist overtones. This is the league selling this now.
Right.
None of the racist overtones.
Nothing
They're
that was
fine with that
sold
now.
in.
We've got 5 different Native American groups that have signed off on us going back to this name.
It's all Dan Snyder.
And really all the negative connotations of the name involved this sexist, loser, over meddler of an owner in Dan Snyder. And Josh Harris is cool. He's a good dude, so it's going to be safe now to go back to the name. That could be the sales pitch. Is it going to be the sales pitch? Probably not. But, one can dream.
Chad, right now, the Los Angeles Angels, they have a 14.5% chance to make the playoffs.
They'll always be the California Angels to me, too, just like the Redskins.
I don't mind that either, California Angels. So are they dumb enough not to trade Ohtani if they know they're not getting him back? If they know that winning matters now more than ever for him, and he's going to require the wealthiest, richest contract we've ever seen, which will likely include some type of ownership stake in the Major League Baseball franchise that he chooses to play for next. They can ship him to that team if they want. I would. They say it's going to come to a 24 to 48-hour deadline decision. And I think they'll end up talking themselves into this whole home run race because Ohtani's going to continue to play great. And at the end of all this, they're going to find value in that and pack stadiums in that over the next 2 months instead of actually finding a return on investment for something that they're not investing in past October.
Well, no one would put the Angels down as one of the smartest franchises in baseball, but they are the ones who were able to lure and sign Shohei Ohtani. So let's give them credit for that. MLB.com put together 9 different teams, the highest probability of trading for Ohtani. Now, this includes, I'm not going to go through a list of prospects and top prospects in each organization, but everyone on this list has variant number of top 100 MLB prospects in the minor league farm system, okay? And I'm not basing this on what is the best trade package. You can read the article and do that if you would like. But here are the teams involved. You ready, Hutton? I'm going to go through them, and we'll go through some of the merits. You tell me what you like the most. Well, it's 9 that they have,
yeah.
the 9 most likely. Tampa Bay Rays, and they have a ton of top prospects they could offer up, currently in first place. Or now, actually, I think the Orioles just retook first place. The Orioles. Now, this would go against everything philosophically they've done.
Yes.
They still have the number 1 overall prospect in baseball. That's not in the majors yet. Not a part of this deal, by the way. They have other great minor league prospects they could package and get Ohtani. Would the Orioles ever go for it?
And they've received a lot in return by trading guys like Machado and others.
They'd also have to do this thinking we're going to spend all the money to
Yeah.
sign him long term, and they're not going to do that.
No.
So I'm kind of crossing them off the list, but that's another one. The Yankees. Yankees need to play better baseball and be in the mix in the AL East to be considered. They do have some pretty good prospects in the minors that they could offer. The Red Sox, staying in the AL East, another one. They have the number 3 overall prospect in baseball, Marcelo Meyer, a shortstop. That would be the offer. This is according to MLB.com. Just him for Ohtani, straight up.
Wow.
And the Red Sox would have the money to pay him, obviously, if they wanted to. The Mariners have a ton of good young players. A couple of them will be in this deal, and 4 other prospects for Ohtani, but another team that's an option. The Rangers, another team, stacked with good minor league prospects for Ohtani and a team that's in contention in the AL West. The Dodgers, they've said, it's been reported, not going to deal with the Dodgers, not likely, but the Dodgers have the number 19 overall prospect in baseball and the number 34 overall prospect, and they could package 3 other guys for Ohtani, and they obviously have the money to do it. The Giants have been in big for a lot of big-time guys, Aaron Judge, namely, this past offseason. They could pay. They will pay, especially on the West Coast for a guy like Shohei Ohtani.
They say, why not?
The box office going to help everything with that franchise. They have the number 15 overall prospect, number 93 overall prospect, 2 other guys they could deal in this hypothetical trade for Ohtani. So add the Giants to the list. Staying out west, the Padres, another team that's a possibility. They need to start winning, though, because they've been really bad. They're not even a contender right now. Those are the 9 teams, Hutton. So what's the best?
I laughed whenever we mentioned the Padres because they've done everything, and they're the West Coast version of the Mets. The Padres, though, are like the Diamondbacks. They've got their own television network now.
Yeah.
Think about Ohtani on the team and what that means globally.
Well, and it's also...
And a monthly subscription.
He wants to win, right? So you could look at it and say, third highest payroll in baseball, they should win.
Yes.
They're not winning right now. Even in this article, it says, let's say the Padres reel off 11 of 12 before the deadline. Well, then they're a contender. And other teams fall off. In that case, they may be more of a likely playoff team, right? But that's unlikely to happen. Yeah.
With the deadline being August 1st.
Also unlikely to happen.
Yeah. I think, though, that just the business mindset of where are we headed with the television contracts? And is it really individual teams that will own all this? And they get, think about that distribution of the brand of Ohtani on the roster, especially if you're doing this long term. And that's the other thing. Is he going to sign like a 5 or 6 year contract, or is this like what we've seen the Padres offer, like a 10 to 15 year contract for the best player on the planet currently? But if you're charging $20 roughly per month to watch your favorite team play, think about everyone that wants to pay to watch Ohtani play. I want to watch him more. I haven't seen him enough, and he should not be a secret. But I do feel like
there's a huge value there for someone, not just on the field, but off the field, jerseys, everything.
And so I think is the value there to just keep him on your roster if you're the Angels, knowing that you can at least make some money off of this home run race, and the fact that, I mean, people are going to the stadium not to see the Angels play. They're going to see Ohtani because he's playing every day. He's played, 90-something% of all possible, pitches?
Yeah. Can I make my pick on that list? It's the Red Sox. That would get me the most hyped.
Giants.
Of the 9, I'm not saying what's going to happen. I'm saying what I'd like to see. I'd love to see Ohtani.
East Coast.
I'd love to see Ohtani pitching against Judge and slugging against Judge in the AL East and the best rivalry in baseball for years to come.
Send him to number 1. Send him to Baltimore.
That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see the Orioles.
I think the Dodgers make sense. It's not going to happen, though, based on reports. Guns. The Gun Show always makes sense. We dive into the top pop culture headlines next on Hot Mic.
Of male advantage plaguing women's sports, it only recently came to light, I feel like, for so many, including myself. I was really only became aware of this when I was slapped across the face with it in regards to Leah Thomas. But as you alluded to, this is something that you had experience of. You were well ahead of your time. I mean, 43 years ago, you saw this. And so would you be able to touch on what that experience looked like competing against the East Germans?
And we would have East German athletes turning up to things like even like the Olympics, and we'd never, ever seen them before. And they would literally arrive and smash world records. They looked and sounded like, very masculine. They had deep voices, very large Adam apple, bad skin, through no fault of their own. I've never had a problem with these individuals. They were pawns of a horrible system. The people I have a big problem with is the IOC. And they allowed this to happen for 20 years. They even had East German doctors sitting on international doping panels. So every time we came up with a way to try and catch them, they would find a way to avoid being caught. And this was allowed to go on for 2 decades. So imagine the number of females that missed out. However, those females only missed out at international competitions, and they predominantly missed out in swimming, track and field, and rowing. What we've got now is 10 times worse, because this is happening across every single sport, at every single level, in every single country. So I've been pushing very hard to say, right, we need to have a female classification, however that looks. Me, ideally, I'd love to bring back sex tests. And then an open and inclusive category so that everyone is still welcome in sport. Because just like you, I'm sure, you want people to do sport. You want people to be physically active, to be healthy, because it helps us, both our body and our minds, and in a world at the moment with mental health, particularly in young girls, through the roof, we need people to be physically active. So it's the last thing in the world I would ever want to do is to ban anyone from sports. I just want to protect the opportunities for people that are biologically female to have equal chance of being able to win medals, put successes onto their onto their CV going forward, get university scholarships, get places on teams, be proud of records that they set, whatever it is. Females are worthy of equal opportunity. We are not second-class citizens, and I'm not prepared to sit back and pretend that we are. So,
amen. Oh my gosh, it's so true. There is no compromise for women. There is nothing that we should have to give up to ensure that trans athletes can compete. But that being said, trans athletes shouldn't be banned from sports. Of course not. And that's something that we see in the States a lot, especially in regards to state legislature being pushed. The opposition, they always say this is an anti-trans bill that bans trans athletes from competing. And that's simply not true. I love how you mentioned it equips people with the right information, with effective messaging, how to communicate about it, what to do. Really powerful. You mentioned in your book, you had a quote, I think it's from Cynthia Millen, and it says, bodies compete against bodies, gender identities don't swim, which is, that's the basis of the argument.
How do we marshal feelings? It's ridiculous. You know, if we turn around and say that we're going to accept a feeling that says someone can feel like a male or a female depending on their feeling, not the reality of their body, where does that stop? You know, what's the next feeling that's going to trump a reality? And we're not doing our kids any favors by not dealing with the truth. You know, it's by telling young children that they're going to be able to change sex when they're not. They're going to have to take medication for the rest of their life. They're going to have to do things to their bodies which will probably shorten their lives.
Getting you to the weekend. Hot Mike with Hutton Withrow rolls on across the OutKick network. Chad, the energy for the weekend.
Let's pump it up.
You could feel it, right? Plus, Mike Gunzelman's in studio. OutKick.com.
Bam, bam.
The gun show.
Let's go.
He's our DJ.
Let's go.
I said there's raves here sometimes. I think Guns could lead a rave at
Guns,
some
how
point
many
at
times?
60
How many
people.
raves have you attended?
I am the rave.
That's right.
No, I had my, I'm from New York City, had my share of warehouse parties, you know. Now I'm more of an emo guy. I'm all about that emo music. I love, sharing my thoughts,
Is the time of night or early morning the same, though, for emo/rave?
They're a little bit different, different vibe. It's amazing what can go on at 5 a.m. in the morning on a Wednesday, leaving a rave.
My roommate in college, Chad Wiley, he was DJing downtown, and he was like, "You want to go for the set?" I'm like, "Sure." And I thought, 8, 10 o'clock latest.
Yeah, like a normal.
And I was fine, whatever time. He arrived downtown at 3 a.m.
It's wild.
Were you there
Nuts.
at 8 and you said to wait on him?
No.
Or did he tell you like,
it's a long way.
At 3?
We arrived downtown together.
Oh, you planned. Okay, good. I'm
like,
glad you planned
he
ahead.
said he's coming, I swear. As they're just waiting.
That'd be a real
pacing
bad
around.
move if he was just like, get there at 8,
It's
get
quiet.
ready to go.
Things are closing down, and then it's underground, and you go. I'm just looking around, going, wow, the energy compared to what's on the street right now.
Yeah.
With all the street sweepers going on.
Tell us about your emo trivia.
Oh, yeah. So I'm
This
big,
is very popular, by
yes,
the way.
no,
What
yeah.
he does is very popular.
Yeah, so it's called Who Wants to Be an Emo Millionaire? It's a game show. So I'm big in the music. I do for years I did a music show, the gun show, all this stuff, and toured with bands, was official Warped Tour radio show for 4 years in a row. So I've been involved in music, but really big into the emo scene, emo music. Your pop punk, mall pop punk, Good Charlotte, that Yellow Card, stuff like that. So now I do an emo trivia. Ocean Avenue, there you go. And it's online, but also we do it live. We do it down here in Nashville, and hundreds of people come on out. We've had All-American Rejects came through the other week, just randomly All-American Rejects to show up because they heard about it, and they're like, "What's up, Guns?" I'm like, "Let's go." And then I changed the trivia to include them, and it's really funny because a lot of bands, regardless of their country, rap, whatever it might be, nobody remembers their own history. So I always include, whenever I have a band with them, a question about their own first album, or what song did you open with in 2012, and they have no idea, or what shirt did you wear on your debut album, and they're struggling to think about it. It's very funny, man. It's very cool.
I love it.
Imagine talking Axl Rose and be in 1985, what was your second to last song on the set?
Was the name of the song September Rain? We can't remember. Or was it November
He might
Rain?
not even know, to be honest, these days.
What would you ask Scott Stapp if he showed up for trivia? Because
the legend.
Someone in the studio is a massive fan of Creed.
Massive Creed fan.
It's
So
Davey
much so he wants
Hudson.
to go on the cruise.
There's a Creed cruise.
Yeah.
Davey is considering attending. And when I say considering, I think he's honestly trying to save to put the money down.
I think he's on the waiting list. Last I heard, he literally has
He's checking
submitted
on it right
himself.
now. Yeah.
He's there. It is going to be, by the way, I'm going to be extremely jealous if he's the only one out of us that goes, because this lineup is stacked. I mean,
he said we, not him.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Oh, hold on. There's a lineup? I thought it was just Creed.
Oh, it's like Buck Cherry, the Verb Pipe, Vertical Horizon, Fuel, like all that. Like it's like just what?
Three doors down.
Three doors down.
Sign me up. I'd go to this thing.
We'll bring some kryptonite to that one.
So
we need that. We need them to partner with OutKick. We have to be there.
They're really bearing the lead by calling this a Creed tour. And not just having a different name and then featuring all these bands.
I feel like Creed would love Hot Mike and OutKick.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's funny because, like,
those other bands are cool, like, to some extent, right? Is Creed cool in any circle? Like, it's one of those bands that probably get the bad rap that just fall. Dave Matthews is like this for a short time. Like, it became uncool to be a Dave Matthews fan, right? We've talked about this, Guns.
I'm very uncool.
But then they come back and it's like, oh, it's cool to be a Dave Matthews fan again.
Yeah.
They're headlining, though, according to this article at Billboard.
The thing
Creed,
with Creed is they became almost like a Nickelback, where it was just like people were just like the butt of all jokes.
Yes.
But Nickelback, I still can't really stand Nickelback. Creed, because they haven't played since like 1999. I'm all about this. Like, they haven't played since like the early 2000s. Why not? It's Creed. Plus, they
played intermission at a hockey game like 2 years ago.
I don't know about that. Not full band like this. This is a big deal.
They were announced as, ladies and gentlemen, Creed.
That was just Scott.
I think it was just Scott.
He went solo. It's like Rob Thomas.
They probably said lead singer of Creed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Creed.
But also, the thing with them is they hold down what I think to this day is the best Thanksgiving football halftime performance of all time, where he's flying through the air.
Angelic.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you got to see
Trying to bring the energy to a thing that has no energy.
Oh, my
halftime of that game. Davey, just shout it out. How old were you in the summer of '99? 5 years old. I don't feel like Davey's the one that should go to this. I think it's one of us, Guns.
Yeah.
It's one of us.
I feel like we need
Summer
to.
of '99 was a very influential summer in my life.
Oh, same.
As was Creed's music during that time. And I hear all these other bands, and I'm thinking, hell yes.
With arms wide open, right?
Yes.
Davey wasn't old enough to think the world was ending whenever 2000.
Oh, yeah. You know what?
Davey
Maybe
didn't think
that's
about
why
it
we
at
love
all.
Creed so much. Though they got us through Y2K.
There's a great subplot in this season of Righteous Gemstones.
Yes.
Where they're going back to 1999, 2000, and they had a plot to sell survival kits for Y2K and made a ton of money off of it. And then what happened in the aftermath of that? So just made me think of that.
What would be our Creed Cruise version for us, where Davey's fully admitting that it's not a popular band in terms of admitting that you would go on a cruise
Guns,
with them?
you had a good one there in Nickelback. Nickelback's one of those that
But
if you
one
really
you would
go back
attend,
and listen
though.
to the catalog, it's like, man, this is good, like rock pop
good.
music.
Yeah,
It's fine. You can tap your toe to it.
I just saw Matchbox 20 the other day, and Matchbox 20 rip. And I'm seeing the Goo Goo Dolls in a couple of weeks down here in Nash. Goo Goo Dolls rip. And I don't think people give them. They're like, oh, Iris. It's like Goo Goo Dolls have so many jams, and Matchbox 20, you're up there and Push and 3 a.m. You forget that they even do those songs because you hear I'm not crazy, I'm a little unwell, those stupid radio songs. That's something like that. You want something that you can just look at somebody else and be like, oh my God, I never even knew they were the ones that sang that.
I saw Collective Soul and Goo Goo Dolls at Ascend Amphitheater 2 or 3 summers ago. And to steal your line, they ripped, both of them. Still got it done and were really good and had some hits.
So in order to admit you're going on a cruise to see an artist, right, it's you're an Uber fan. That's how I'd view it. It's more than a joke for Davey Hudson. I would go with John Mayer, admitting that, I would get crushed. We'll get Guns's in just a moment. But, Chad, the floor is yours because I absolutely know your answer to the cruise you would attend.
Yeah, I mean, if we're...
you would attend.
I would attend Backstreet Boys tour or a cruise, probably. But, I mean, there are a lot of options that, a band reuniting or becoming that haven't been as popular that come back that I would go see.
Especially you get together a group of people. You're not going on a cruise. You're not getting a solo bunk.
No, Davey's going solo. He's trying to pick up girls on this cruise, which we told him is a terrible move because, Guns, the percentage of girls that aren't taken on a Creed cruise is what, 4%? of everyone there.
It also can get weird very quickly because when they run away, there's nowhere for them to go, and vice versa. When they shun you, you can't hide from them either. So like you'll walk into like the buffet line and be like, oh God, there they are again. I can't.
I love that you immediately went to girls running from Davey too, because it's exactly what we would have said. So that's perfect. That they couldn't flee the boat at that point.
Yeah,
also, the 4% of women on this cruise that are single are all trying to sleep with Scott Stapp.
Yeah.
Or someone from Creed.
Or they're working on the cruise.
Scott might have to get helicoptered on and off every night. You know what I mean? He's not staying on that ship.
Yeah, your blackjack dealer might be employed.
Or they're filming
on this
Below
cruise.
Deck
That's
for
about
Bravo
it.
is what they're doing. The females on this cruise with Creed.
But yeah, Creed's back 2023. It's not even a joke anymore. Like, they've moved on. Like, they're back. So.
Are you wanting to see Ohtani push for Judge's record?
No.
Oh, as a baseball fan, I want to see.
Well, he's a Yankees
I'm a
fan.
diehard Yankee fan.
I know. Even Judge has said records are meant to be broken.
No,
he has to say that after last year, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure he does not mean it 1% as he sits on
fans
on
don't.
as he sits on the IL with a bruised toe
I'm
for
with
2
you.
months.
Like players, say one thing. Oh, I wish this guy the best.
Nobody
and do
wants.
that.
Nobody wants
There
their
are plenty
name
of guys
bumped
that I'm
off
like,
the line.
I don't like this guy because he's not with my team or he spurned my team or whatever I can create about
There's
him.
no way you want. Yeah, you don't want to be up there.
I don't
on that
hesitate to
trophy.
say I'd like to see this guy fail. With some people.
Just be real. Yeah.
Well, I think it goes back to my thought process on last year and the hype behind the race for 62, right? Like the idea that Major League Baseball is now able to just point to Judge and this whole, oh, he's going for the record. What the AL record is the AL record.
Right.
And, he's a Yankee.
It's legitimate. Yeah.
But, man, if you're able to watch Ohtani do this based on the hype we saw last year with Judge, that then just perception becomes that's the new home run record. And I don't want that to happen. They're trying to completely ignore what has happened. But I miss the home run race
and Guns,
in baseball.
You are a Yankees fan, and you're a frustrated Yankees fan right now. You had a great, epic rant last week about the corporate sponsor on the jersey that I loved and how anti you are against that with the Yankees. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Do you agree with John Smoltz that if they get Ohtani, they're suddenly the World Series favorite?
No, not as of right now because we just got swept by the Angels. Our pitching is a disaster. There's no point in getting Shohei Ohtani if you're the Yankees unless you know Aaron Judge is coming back. And right now, we have no idea. He took a couple swings the other day, but there's still no timetable on Aaron Judge coming back. And to give up prospects just for a rental, because you got to realize he's a free agent. So if you're going all in, if you're a team out there, if you're the Rays, you're whoever this year, if you're willing to give up your prospects it's almost like the Jets going right now with Aaron Rodgers. It's almost now or nothing. The Yankees are not equipped to do all that for Shohei and then possibly have to drop $450 million at least for him if they want to re-sign him. If I'm the Yankees, I don't think Ohtani's going to come here. Listen, is he exciting? Is he great? Absolutely. He leads he's a pitcher. I just did the stats before I came down here. He's top 5 in hits. He's top 8 in RBIs. He leads the league in home runs, American League in home runs, and he's a pitcher. He's the most exciting player right now. So would it be good for baseball? Sure. Do I want him to beat it? Absolutely not. Do I think the Yankees, would it be great if they got him? I'm thinking about this not even from a fan standpoint, a realist standpoint, and which is like frustrating to me because I want the Yankees to make some moves, but we can't get Ohtani if we don't have Judge. What's the point? Also, how about this? This is what I'm really furious about. I wrote an article on OutKick.com that you can check out. The Gun Show. How you doing? Here we go. Why is nobody walking Shohei Ohtani? The Yankees faced him 3 games in a row. He hit multiple bombs off of us. He was hitting triples, and we keep throwing to him. I broke down the facts. He has been walked 7 times this year. What are you not walking? So much so that last year, Judge got walked 19 times, which also I was shocked, especially when you start getting in the 50 home runs and you're against competitors, competing for wild card spots, etc., that they weren't walking him. You compare it to Barry Bonds. In 2004, he was intentionally walked 120 times, and Ohtani is 7. Why aren't you walking these people?
It is crazy to see.
It's like they don't do it anymore. They forgot that you have it.
Yeah,
what are you
and
doing?
all of baseball, the lack of once they went to that rule about you can just say you can take first, Instead of just throwing the 4
forgot that you could
pitches
do
out,
it. It's like, yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh, we're not going to do it anymore." So now that you changed that rule, we're just not going to do it.
There's got to be some crazy analytical reason.
there's a reason
when he
for
gets
it,
on
but-
base, he scores or something.
Well, with everyone though, I think intentional walks have gone down huge. That's a great comparison to the Bonds year.
Yeah.
When that happened, but I don't see nearly as many. Hey, take first
We're,
for
we are-
anyone.
we are at career lows right now, or league lows in decades so far this season. Even last year, where it's like second to where we are right now. It's like, and for a sport, we all know athletes in sports, you're looking for any sort of competitive edge. Well, if this guy, the thing that I hate about analytics is the stupid, suit-wearing losers, nerds in the back that are no-named, that never get held accountable when they screw up with their damn analytics. They can't take into account the numbers, and the AI and the algorithms can't take into account being hot, being on a roll. If you're a small forward and you hit 2 3-pointers within the first 5 minutes of an NBA game, you're going to keep dishing that guy the ball because he's in a rhythm. If you're Shohei Ohtani and you're on an absolute tear right now, who cares what the analytics say? Like, oh, we'll just throw in the ball. How about no, because he's feeling good.
Amen.
Walk the guy. Get them out of their rhythm. You stupid losers with your freaking pocket protectors that like in their computers, they don't get it. Any people that have played sports that are watching you know that when you're feeling hot, you're in that rhythm. And you also know when you're not, that's when you throw to him every single time.
Here's why you should be pissed off, because teams are pitching to him, and the Angels still lose normally.
Well, I think it was the fourth. that
Even
told
when
us-
he's going off, the Angels are losing.
Yeah, we had the Ford on talking about this idea from Smoltz that, well, if they get Ohtani, they're the World Series favorite. And he said, well, if that was true, the Angels would have won multiple World Series, having him on the team.
With Mike Trout, by the way.
Yeah, they haven't done anything, so that's not
Crazy
true.
they have not won more.
Yep.
It really is.
It's a lot going on in baseball. And just to prove your point, the Yankees stink. The Yankees are in last place in the AL East. The freaking Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles. Name one player on the Orioles. I dare you, for the viewer in the audience at home. Yeah, like name
Hutton
2
knows
players.
all of them.
Oh yeah, well,
I can say
Christ.
Adley Rutschman.
Hutton, God,
I know that one. Yeah, Hutton's a
okay,
fan.
Hutton. Sorry. My point is,
I just helped out
These
the
guys may
audience
be
by
traded
giving
by
them
August
one.
1st.
You are in first place. The Yankees are in
The
last
Orioles
place.
are sellers in first place.
And they're blaming it that it's because they don't have Aaron Judge. It's more than one player, and it's more than one player besides Ohtani. I don't think he comes to the Yankees, but listen, have fun, whatever.
You're the man, Gun Show.
On a Friday.
You're the man.
Mike Gunzelman.
I'll
in
see you on
studio
the
with us.
cruise with arms wide open.
We'll see you for that 3 Doors Down set.
We'll take you
Kryptonite.
higher.
We'll be on stage with Buck Cherry on this cruise.
Virtual Horizon, baby.
Stay tuned.
Dave,
Open
you'll be hitting on the
Championship
blackjack
updates
dealer.
next on
The
Hot
Verve
Mic.
pipe.
The two biggest social media giants, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, are set to battle it out, and I'm here on Broadway asking people who they put their money on. Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, they're gonna fight each other. Who do you think's gonna win?
I think Mark's got him.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Because he's a man.
Okay, and Elon Musk isn't.
Oh, well, of course, he's got money.
Okay.
He's got money. Money, well, you know, money's money.
Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg in a fight?
I don't know. I'm going to go with Musk.
Why?
He just seems like he's a little bit younger, a little bit smarter.
You just got a good feeling about him?
I got a good feeling.
Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg?
Musk.
Why?
He trains. That guy's gonna beat his.
But Mark Zuckerberg is actually training jiu-jitsu for 9 months.
Not happening. Not Elon Musk all day. Elon Musk.
Why do you think?
He has no soul. I mean, I think he's definitely just gonna no holds barred.
Elon Musk.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. I feel like he's stronger and smarter.
Oh, Elon Musk.
All the way? Why?
All the way. He's an animal. Think about it.
Mark Zuckerberg's been training for 9 months jiu-jitsu. You think Elon Musk can take him?
Yeah, I think he could take him.
Elon, that oh God, stop playing with Elon. Elon really do this out here, for real.
I hope Elon
Really? Why do you think so?
got better ideas.
Zuckerberg's like 5'7", 155. Musk is 6'1", 190. But Zuckerberg's been training jiu-jitsu for 9 months. Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, who's going to win in a fight?
Oh, Elon Musk. No doubt.
Why do you think so?
He's the GOAT. I've been seeing all the Twitter handles and all the talk, and I'm on Elon Musk's side. I'm ready for them to get in the WWE ring and then come off the top rope. That's what I want to see. I want to see a people's elbow to Mark Zuckerberg.
If one was more likely to be a lizard or a robot, who would it be?
Elon. Elon.
Okay.
I think Mark Zuckerberg will win.
Why do you think that?
Because I think he already trains MMA. So he's got like the prior experience and stuff. I mean, they're both billionaires, so they have the opportunity to get the best training. But I think Mark Zuckerberg will pull away with the win.
Elon Musk.
Why do you think so?
Because he's bigger.
Bigger, okay, but Mark Zuckerberg's been training jiu-jitsu for 9 months. Do you think that matters?
No.
Because Elon Musk's he's gonna learn and train, right? So
Yeah. I think he'll handle Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg's a lizard, right? So
he's a lizard, but does that help him?
I don't think so. I think Elon will squash the lizard.
Cage fight. Elon Musk is mental, so Elon Musk.
All it is just he's mental. He's mentally crazy. So
He just wouldn't care, would he?
Okay.
He'd just absolutely go for it. I think Zuckerberg would be a bit more refrained.
Okay.
If that should ever happen, which I doubt, but you never know, it'd be entertaining.
Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg?
Elon Musk.
Why?
Because
Elon
my
Musk.
dad is in love with Elon Musk.
Okay.
I think I'm going to have to go with Zuckerberg. I mean, Threads just came out, so.
Who do you think would win?
Zuck.
Why do you think so?
Because he's not a real human. He's a robot.
So he'll use that to his advantage.
Yeah, and all the Krav Maga stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you think would win in a fight, Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk?
Elon Musk.
Why do you think Elon Musk?
I think Elon's He smarter. works with robots, so maybe he built a robot to fight for him.
But what if Mark Zuckerberg is a robot?
Oh wow. Then I might have to change my answer.
Who do you think's gonna win?
Me.
Open Championship over at Royal Liverpool. Currently, Brian Harmon is your leader at 10 under. Tommy Fleetwood right there, but a late surge in the second round by Harmon pushes him ahead by 10. By 5. It's 10 under for Harmon. Fleetwood in second currently at 5 under total. Missing the cut, Justin Thomas and DJ as well.
Tough go for them. Dylan from our staff is head over heels about Tommy Fleetwood being in contention. He bets on him in every tournament. Place a bet on him to win every tournament.
This may be his weekend.
Could be his year.
He's going to be sweating it out on Sunday for sure. That's really the tournament to watch, or the sporting event to watch this weekend. The U.S. women's national team, such heavy favorites that you've got to bet thousands of dollars to win $300.
All those Americans,
Guns had that.
all those patriotic Americans going to be tuning in to root against America
In
for
fact-
Vietnam in this game, though. Everyone who says that isn't watching. Let me tell you that.
Yes.
Flat out. They're not watching women's soccer.
So there's one bettor that put $70,000 on the U.S. women's national team against Vietnam. If they win $350. Chad, was this you?
No, it was not.
Imagine if they don't win.
That's tough. I would hope it's someone. I hear stories like this and I always think, man, I really hope it's someone that has a lot of disposable income. Because if it's someone that their net worth is $85,000, that's real bad, right? That's a real problem.
Well, to go out and get the 350, like, man, I really need this extra 350.
Yeah, I mean, but you're like
Gotta flip
mortgaging.
this.
You know, this is like they have 4 kids, and
What do you
it's
think they need it for?
Their entire combined college fund
for $350.
They're like, you know what? My kid could go Ivy League now if I can win this bet on this U.S. women's national team game. So I'm putting all of that money in and letting it ride on this. And then Vietnam shocks the world.
I don't even know
1-0.
Can you
tonight.
get a book? Can you download an app for $350 in an Ivy League school? That's the return on the $70,000
If you
bet.
place enough $70,000 bets, you can go to an Ivy League school.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the first time this guy or girl has done this, too, when I see a number like that. Probably not the only time.
Yeah.
I also think it's someone probably really rich, and we don't have to worry about it.
Hopefully it's not an NFL player on team property doing this.
Oh, gosh.
Betting on the U.S. women's national team.
Can you imagine if it was
Minus
Joe Burrow?
$20,000 odds.
We find out a week from now Joe
Or
Burrow
worse,
was the one.
MLB player. They banned for life.
First day of Jets camp, Aaron Rodgers placed a bet on the U.S. women's national team. $70K
immediately
to win $350
upon arrival,
and then gets outed and has to sit out 6 games.
Chad, yeah, we've discussed the new Bond film and the concepts behind it, the lane they may be headed in based on new actor, what they're looking for, also how things ended with Daniel Craig, right? The series there. And now Christopher Nolan is tied in with the next Bond film, or at least could be.
Well, no, he's saying that he would be honored. They asked him about directing a Bond film, and they asked if he would be frustrated working under the constructs of a franchise like that. And I think he said something about, well, I did do Batman 3 times. That's a pretty big franchise that I was able to operate within and do my own thing and my own spin on it, which most everyone would agree, certainly critics would, that he did a very good job with his Dark Knight trilogy with Batman. I would love Christopher Nolan directing a Bond film. But he's not the first major director to say something like this. Quentin Tarantino has talked about he would come out of his whatever it's 10 movies, right? He wants
10.
to do.
Yep.
He said I would do an extra one if they'd let me direct a Bond movie. I mean, imagine a Quentin Tarantino Bond movie and what that would look like.
But have to do it his way.
Yeah, it'd have to go from PG-13 to R. I'm sure if they did that. I think most are PG-13. But I love the idea of Christopher Nolan, a Brit himself, directing a Bond movie. It'd be great. I'm excited about Oppenheimer also. I love when...
What have you heard on this?
I just love when a director of this ilk does something that is historic.
Anything with Nolan, though, I think crushes. For the most part.
He's great, and it's always worth watching. There's certain directors, Scorsese, Nolan, Tarantino. There are others, Spielberg to some extent, although I'm not crazy about watching his semi-autobiographical film he did recently that got some Oscar nominations, The Fabelmans. But most everything they do, I want to watch. I read this whole, I forget where I read it, but there's this whole thing about since the iPhone was invented and came into market, which I want to say was like 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. If you look at every major auteur, major film director
2007
in Hollywood since 2007, none of them have done a modern movie. They've all done things in the past. Because this whole thing about how the iPhone killed movies. And that modern directors that are older do not want to focus on anything in the present because they feel like the ability for everyone to make a movie with their phone has killed cinema. And most everything they focus on is a period piece from the past, before the iPhone. It was fascinating looking at, there's like a chart of movies done up until then. Like Scorsese's an example. He had done modern movies. The Departed.
Right.
Was the last one before the iPhone that he did that was a modern movie. Throughout his career, he had done things tackling modern issues. And from the iPhone on, he's only done things in the past. Every movie he's done. Killers of the Flower Moon will be another example.
Yeah. So they're not doing anything in the future either?
No. It's all past. They hate the iPhone that much. It's not them saying... a lot of them have talked about movies are made
that's
to be
the line where
experienced in the
people are
big...
figuring out when it happened, when it occurred, this line of thinking.
Well, look, Scorsese has a deal with Netflix. He had The Irishman there. He has a deal with Apple now with this next one. So they understand that it's going to be streamed at some point. Spielberg's completely against all of this, but they all have this idea that movies are made to be experienced on the big screen.
You're about to go do that.
Not on a phone.
With Mission Impossible, right?
Going to watch Mission Impossible right after this. My guy, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise can make 45 Mission Impossibles. I'd watch all of them in the theater. I'm doing this thing 4DX for the first time ever. I haven't watched a ton of movies on IMAX. It's cool. It's got to be the right movie to do it. Yeah, but it's an extended screen. It's the IMAX screen, but apparently the seats vibrate during the movie.
Is this like with the air and stuff too? Like I saw Jurassic Park and something like this. So you'll have like if you have the T-Rex behind you, it'll feel like it's behind you, kind of thing.
I don't know. I've never done it. I think it's the whole thing.
I kind of want to.
I told my buddy I have not gone. I'm going to sound very like I never get out of the house right now, but whatever. I haven't gone to the movie theaters that sell drinks or beers, like the nice movie theater where you can get like almost like dinner and a beer at the movie.
Yeah.
Or even sell alcohol. So I told my buddy, hey, I'm really looking forward to my first order a beer experience the movie, and he said that's a huge mistake that we made for Top Gun Maverick in these seats. They vibrate so much they spilled their beers on themselves.
I would have to go to the bathroom all the
movie.
time, though, if I'm drinking beer at the movie.
You know, even for a man over 40, I've got a terrific bladder. I don't know what it is. My prostate is in top-notch shape right now. My doctor tells me at every physical, like,
what is the test
man,
tonight?
your prostate.
Let me know how that goes.
You have the prostate of a 19-year-old. That's
Also,
what I hear every time.
A few years back, Virginia Beach had this. My family always goes to this one theater. You can get like food or whatever. You know, you got a little. I hated it. Trying to
navigate like a knife
chicken tenders
and fork.
and fries and stuff. You could get that.
Oh.
You could get like spaghetti and other stuff too. I'm just thinking like, what? Like, give me popcorn and whatever else they're selling for $35.
I'm even
and
also
I'll be happy.
I'm probably overly conscientious, but I'm like cognizant of how loud I'm chewing my popcorn in the movie to not distract the person next to me. So can you imagine like tearing into like tuna tartare while eating, or
caviar,
just chewing down? Like I'm trying to. There's a talking scene, and I'm trying to cut into my ribeye as we're doing that.
Oh, Davey hates people that talk and try to ask questions during a movie or a show.
Oh, I do too.
Imagine him. I'm more worried about the person kicking the back of my chair, which you will not have happen. You'll just think it's a vibration today.
Yeah. This is great for kids that like to kick people in front of them. Oh, it's just another vibration.
Except
just
for the cries you'll hear from everyone scared.
Kick away from the kids.
Let me know how this goes.
I tried to do the 3D, like a 3D thing at the zoo with my daughter one time, and it was a dinosaur experience of some sort. And I mean, we got in there not even 30 seconds into it. They do something that says like it's a little bit frightening. It's very interactive. There was like a bird or something that came in, and like with the glasses on,
they want to put it to the test immediately.
And the way the seat like shakes, it feels like the bird is going to hit you in the face, and immediately screamed. And we had to leave. I didn't know how to get I had to open the door to let the light in to ruin everyone else's experience. I got to get out of here. And I'm looking for a person like, this is intolerable. We can't do this the whole time, and had to leave. You're
having to get the glasses off and everything.
I've done this twice now, where another one was my 3-year-old was in one that was an interactive thing that looked like you were going over the United States, and the seats would move, and they removed the floor from you, so it felt like you were like over
gliding.
Everything and flying.
And there was a screen underneath
and
too.
Right when the screen's below, ahead, above. There's water that comes up and hits you. And the moment the floor moved, it was the most blood-curdling scream
you've
ever heard, and it lasted
at the island?
full. Yes.
Okay.
It lasted the full 17 minutes, and I'm just holding on to her, saying it's okay. Look, trying to make it like fun.
It's called Air America.
Hey, look,
or something.
it's over here, and I'm trying to tell. Yeah.
Soar.
I'm trying. Soar. That's it. I'm trying to tell her. Look, the floor's still there. I'm trying to show her that it's not scary. But look, the floor we just saw is still there.
It's unbelievably good.
Try
though.
explaining all these things to a 3-year-old who, it is reality to them. They have been transported through time and space to a different atmosphere overlooking the earth to them. They have no idea. She's thinking, why would my parents take me to this and put me over the earth in this way and try to kill me? That's the way she's screaming the entire time to let her out of it. And we couldn't do it. Once the ride starts, you're in. She screamed for everyone to hear the entire time. That was a lot of fun.
Trying to get the official name of it's you go through all the national parks and different things.
It's Soar is the name of it. You nailed
fantastic.
And not with a 3-year-old, but everyone else go.
Yeah,
everyone else go see it immediately. It's great.
Take the adults.
Terrific attraction.
Chad, last week we were discussing Tupac and the shooting that took place, that he was murdered. We've waited 26 years for any detail, and then all of a sudden there's a warrant that's executed out in Las Vegas. And we were chatting at the time, like, what causes this? What was this like? This had to be more than just having a ticket to the Tyson fight that night. And sure enough, TMZ has footage of this raid of this property where you have armored vehicles, all kinds of stuff rolling in for this warrant to be served and the search to happen. Still don't know the details of it.
I don't know why you would need this much action.
I know.
For the police force, 26 years after the fact. And also, what evidence could be kept? So it's one of two things. Like, my first question is, what evidence would still be around that many years later.
Right.
And if you have the person who did it, the fact is you believe this person is this much of a flight risk, that they're going to be on guard. I mean, I guess, yeah, if you're a murderer.
Full-on SWAT team.
You don't just knock on the door.
But to
and
have
go
no,
get them, but have a full SWAT team going into a residential neighborhood like it's not like they're trying to invade a compound, right? This isn't SEAL Team 6 going in for Bin Laden.
Yeah.
It's a guy in Henderson, Nevada,
I do
in
want
a
to know
very
the
standard neighborhood.
I do want to know what this was nicknamed, like what they referred to this as. Instead of Zero Dark 30, this would be what?
The operation that it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Hit him up.
Whatever. Yeah. there you go.
Operation Hit him up.
So,
Operation Dear Mama.
At least 2
Another great
armored
Tupac
personnel
song.
carriers along with SWAT members. So, yeah, this is more than just your average run-of-the-mill, hey, we have a warrant to search for something that we believe is underneath the carpet. Some new DNA evidence that we believe is there.
It's a crazy story. I'm ready for more info to get out because nothing's really been said.
This is something you would roll out if you think Tupac is being held hostage for 26 years in this building.
Now, that would be a story.
I mean,
that would be a story.
What would require this level of attention?
Well, I just look at that neighborhood and I'm thinking, maybe they have the murder, and that's what this is all going to be. But
they want us to believe it's over photos and documents. This is more than that, right? Chad, enjoy
Hutton,
the
cheers
weekend.
to the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great job by our crew
We
all
all
week
made it
with
absolutely.
SEC Media Days.
In the meantime, check out the YouTube channel, and we're back on Monday. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. Hope you'll join us Monday, 3 o'clock Eastern. We'll get you to 6 o'clock Eastern each and every weekday, talking sports headlines and more for the OutKick Network.